Hello, everybody, and welcome to DreamHack Montreal 2018, day number 2. My name is Cora Giorgio, and joining me to kick off the show, we've got Firebat and Lorinda back yet again. An excellent first day we had, and now we're going to be kicking things off with round number 5 of the Swiss. How you guys doing today? Firebat, good to be back on the desk?
Great to be back on the desk. We had a really exciting day 1, and I hope we're going to have a really exciting day 2. And boy, do we have a great match to start off the day.
Yeah, we do. We've got reigning DreamHack Austin champion Amnesiac going up against Docpwn, top 8 finisher at the World Championships last year. Lorinda, what do you think about this one?
This matchup's going to be good. The whole day looks good because the top top players are doing so well. All the people you'd expect to go well up 3-1-4-0. And the teams as well, yeah. Tempo's still having another good tournament, so... but I'm interested to see how not just this match plays out, but the entire day with the likes of Fino, Amnesiac, and Hunter Ace all on 4-0, and Orange.
Yeah, incredibly impressive. It's always really nice when the good players that you would expect to succeed do, in fact, succeed. And we can go ahead and actually check out the standings right now and see where these players
it's a lot of
faring.
Big names, a lot of people that you should recognize. Almost every player on the left side, I'd say, is someone you'd recognize, and almost every player on the right side is a player you should recognize as well. A few new names sneaking in there at 4-0. JEE is a name that I personally have never seen before, and one of the top places at a DreamHack, so it's exciting to see maybe some new faces. Maybe get him on stream at some point would be interesting to see what's going on there.
Yep, very impressive. World Championship competitors. Hunter Ace, widely regarded as the best player in the world right now. We have Lead Paint, who has been playing Hearthstone for a very long time, but hasn't had a really solid finish in quite a while. So this is very impressive to go the entire first day of the tournament and not lose a single match. Yeah. Of course, we are still playing 5 rounds today, however. Yeah,
ZLSJS has actually been around for a long time, but hasn't had the chance to really show himself much on the screen. We see a lot of his tweets about how he's doing well in this and that, but he never quite made it to those big games. Hopefully see more of him later as well.
Yeah, going to be very nice. Hopefully we get a chance to see some familiar faces and some of those new ones, players like G and level 9001, who I personally have not seen in action before. It's always nice for them to get a chance to be up on that DreamHack stage. But of course, before we move on, we need to give thanks to Corsair for making this entire event possible. For the whole year, they are being very supportive of DreamHack events and the Hearthstone Grand Prix in particular. And if you guys want to level up your viewing experience, we do have 8 streams running at a single time over with the Snipe application, and you can I don't know how I wanted to say that. I just kind of potatoed there a little bit, not gonna lie. It's good. You should go check it out.
Yeah, 8 at once. A lot of people can really process 8 different Hearthstone streams at the same time. So if you're one of those people, it's just for you.
Well, if it's your favorite players playing, you get to see them on stream all day long is part of the thing you can do. So if you want to follow ball control, for instance, you just go, I'll just watch ball control.
So you don't have to watch all 8.
You can. I mean, you can.
You can.
Nobody has that many monitors.
If you want to multi-box 8 at once, CKL, looking at you, you can watch all 8 games.
Cool. It is possible. You have that option. We have the technology. Let's bring it back to our first match of the day. It is going to be Docpwn taking on our DreamHack Austin champion, Amnesiac. Both of these players sitting at a 4-0 record. Amnesiac has got the Tempo Storm lineup at this tournament, and Docpwn's sort of an enigma. He's from Canada. He's a player that you see occasionally come out of his deep slumber, and when he does, he usually performs very well. We just don't get a chance to see him a whole lot.
Yeah, he's kind of hit or miss. He either goes all the way with a fantastic run like he's having in this one, or sometimes he just vanishes. I think his time is limited, so if he gets time to practice for an event, I think he does really well. And if he doesn't tend to do so well, but this looks like an event where he has had the time to practice. Yeah,
I was talking to him a little bit before the event. I was talking to a lot of the players, just kind of going around trying to get a feel of the event. I mentioned earlier yesterday that the Tempo Storm lineup is, stats backed. They have they recruited a college professor, Manny Skull, and he was able to help them build their lineup using statistics and all this sort of things. So that's why Amnesiac, Muzzy, Lead Paint, It's Flow, all have the same lineup. All of those players are 3 or 1 or better. So, it's apparently working for them. I told this to Docpwn on day 1, and I was talking to him, and he was like, well, what's the perfect stats lineup? And then I told him, they have Even Warlock, Odd Rogue, Death Rattle Hunter, Token Druid, and he's like, wow, Death Rattle Hunter, huh? That seems like a bad choice. So he was already kind of trashing on it a little bit.
Excellent.
So I'm interested to see if maybe the Death Rattle Hunter is able to perform, or maybe Docpwn's right and that deck's just not as good as people think.
And he was on the HGG team this year as well, so he's had a chance to mingle with the likes of Purple for the last 6 weeks, which is probably rubbing off a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully in a good way.
Yeah, okay.
We can assume. No, but Death Rattle Hunter has had a fair performance so far in general. We're looking at Quest Rogue, even Warlock, Token Druid being the highest performing decks on day number 1. But day number 2 is really when we start to see those trends emerge from the rest of the pack. Is this stats-backed Tempo Storm lineup really as good as they claim it is? Or are we going to see maybe something a little bit rogue coming from left field? We had a full aggro lineup from Impact yesterday. He's also 4-0. That lineup looking very, very strong as well. So kind of difficult at this point to tell exactly what the objectively best lineup is, because there are just so many factors when it comes to lineup and ban strategy.
Yeah, I think Impact's feeling very good right now. There's a lot of Quest Rogue in that top sort of 20 players. He's messaging this morning saying, you know, I've got the aggro lineup and I've got what I want. I've got all the Quest Rogues at the top. Okay, it's last hero, it's not Conquest, so you only start like 1-0 up.
Right.
But it's still a great position to be in if you've got that lineup.
And that lineup's been brought by a lot of players. I know Impact has a practice group of a couple guys there, Coach Twisted, usually Luffy, and some of these other players, and I think all of those guys are at 3-1 or better as well. So there's 2 different practice groups with 2 different lineups that are both at all 3-1 or better. So it's kind of interesting to see the aggro lineup clash with the more balanced lineup. Yeah,
Luffy, another player that just goes missing and then comes back and just does well again. Most people recognize him as like the aggro guy from Ladder.
Yeah.
Has been since 2014. It's just, oh, it's Luffy. Which druid is it going to be? I don't know. There isn't an aggro druid. It must be something else.
Sure.
Definitely one of those names that you recognize, has been around for quite a while, and always exciting to see them pop up here and there. But we do have the bans ready to go, so let's see exactly what these players are going to be going up against. With the Tempo Storm strategy, we have seen Rogue traditionally banned away. Nothing different here. Doc's Rogue will be gone, so it is Druid, Shaman, Warlock, and Amnesiac's Druid has been banned, so it's Hunter, Shaman, Warlock for him.
Right, and we saw that this was the general ban strategy of the Tempo Storm lineup, but then one time, Just Saiyan decided not to ban the Rogue, and then was swept 3-0 by the Rogue when he didn't ban it with this lineup. So, you know, Amnesiac and the Tempo Storm guys falling back to the original ban strategy with the lineup, respecting that Rogue after seeing it 3-0 them yesterday. It makes a lot of sense to ban the Rogue with this lineup. I like it a lot.
Can that be a problem if your opponents know round after round you're banning this thing?
It's definitely a problem, right? Yeah. They have a huge leg up on how they can change their ban in response to that. So having a locked-in ban can be really risky. Your opponent could maybe overthink it and think that, well, he knows that I'm a good player, so he knows that I know what he's supposed to ban, so maybe I'll try and figure out what will he ban, knowing that,
so someone like Saiyan, who's an incredibly smart guy, just once in a while, especially on stream,
will just ban
that
something
one
else.
one time out of the day, keep you on your toes.
You can figure out what they're supposed to ban if they know you're banning the Rogue, right? So you can go that one level deeper and then ban what you should ban if they know that you're banning the Rogue kind of thing.
I'm with you.
Yeah, you're following? Like, I feel like I'm very...
I'm the only one who is, but I get it.
I'm slightly confusing myself at this point.
Just occasionally not ban the right thing, just to make sure your opponent doesn't have
it is the right thing in that sense, if you think that they're going to change.
Don't be all clever on it.
It's very difficult to articulate it, but it's absolutely the correct train of thought. But here, however, Amnesiac has just gone with the traditional ban, Docpwn with the Druid. And now that you've seen the bans, you can evaluate the lineups. We want to know what you all at home are thinking. Third time's the charm here. We've got the poll running, so make sure you are following this channel, twitch.tv/DreamHackHS, and in the chat, go and write hashtag Docpwn if you're voting for Docpwn, or hashtag Amnesiac if you think Amnesiac is going to take this one. So we want to know what you think. We'll have those results for you very, very shortly. As far as you guys go, Firebat, you think that Doc is going to come out of retirement and just absolutely dumpster the young adult savage now, or is Amnesiac going to continue his DreamHack reign of terror?
I think Doc has fairly good chances to take it. He's got the Shutterwalk Shaman with the Earth Shocks that could potentially line up well against Amnesiac's Even Warlock. Amnesiac's Even Warlock has the Sacrificial Pact, whereas Doc's Even Warlock does not, so I think Amnesiac's favored in that mirror. And then there's the element of the Death Rattle Hunter, which Doc seems to not think is a very powerful deck, but seems really well positioned against Doc's lineup. The Even Warlock from him and the Shutterwalk Shaman from him both seem potentially weak to the Death Rattle Hunter. But judging in his confidence against the deck, I think he's fairly okay with those matchups somehow. Even though the stats say that those aren't good matchups, he doesn't seem afraid of that deck at all, so I want to throw my vote towards Doc because that seems like the deck Amnesiac is well positioned to do well with, but Doc's not afraid of it.
Well, you know what? Confidence is key. If he's not afraid of it, then he knows, obviously, how to deal with it. Lorinda, Firebad thinks it's going to be Doc.
I've picked against Amnesiac too many times in these things before. I'm not even going to discuss it. I'm just going to pick Amnesiac and deal with it if he loses.
All right, that's fair. Better to pick him and, you know what, know that you're in his good graces if he does.
I don't need
win.
to pander to Amnesiac. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Whatever you say. Like I said, confidence is key. You own it. You own that, Lorinda.
Gotta take it head on with Amnesiac, otherwise, he'll just trample you down.
Grab the bull by the horns to earn the respect. I like it. I am going to give my vote to Doc. I do like Shutterwalk Shaman in this meta. I think the double Earth Shock is a really nice call, knowing that there is so much even Warlock, and I have put my support behind Doc in the past, and I've been rewarded for it. I thought he would do well at Worlds. He ended up getting top 8. So I'm going to go ahead and just give him my vote again. And now we've got to find out, who have you given your vote to in the chat? Did you want Doc to win, or do you guys think that Amnesiac is going to take it? And the results are understandably skewed in favor of Amnesiac. 76% of you think Amnesiac is going to win, only 24% for the hometown hero Docpwn. They're not liking what we're liking, Firebad.
It's fair. They're probably not analyzing the lineups, and also Doc's, what was his tournament record going into this tournament?
It's his second tournament of the year. He's 3-3 this year in tournaments.
Yeah, so yeah,
in matches, he's played 6 games.
6
one
games
tournament.
all year. So yeah, he hasn't been the most active in the tournament scene as of late, whereas Amnesiac is a quite outspoken individual, very active on social media, and has been just killing it lately.
Yeah, and every time he turns up, you think, oh, he hasn't played quite as much this year, and then just wins.
Well,
you do.
Amnesiac did take some time off from Hearthstone, but when he came back to DreamHack Austin, he was rededicating himself to the craft, and he ended up winning the entire tournament. So you can never sleep on the young Savage, especially now that he's 18 years old and he's come into his full powers as a legal adult. So is it going to be Amnesiac or the hometown hero Docpwn? We're going to find out right now as DreamHack round number 5 is underway.
Thank you, Cora. So she's left us on our own now, Firebat. We're going to have to do it all by ourselves. It's going to be this first game of the day. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to seeing Amnesiac in action. Do you still get sort of fun out of watching the very best players like this? Or do you think they go, oh, I used to do this? It was
yeah,
easy.
it's always fun to watch the best players. I actually, maybe when I watch Hearthstone, prefer to watch not the best players because they do funny plays, which I kind of enjoy. Yeah, it causes a lot more hype and exciting things. When the best players play against each other, you can usually assume they have a game plan, and they kind of just execute it every single time, and it's a lot more predictable. When players are playing that don't know what they're doing as well, it's not as predictable, so it kind of goes all over the place, which I really enjoy the kind of flashiness and randomness of Hearthstone sometimes.
I do think that the way the current meta is, a lot of decks have plans B and plans C. So you do see even the best players steer a different direction. They get halfway through the game trying to do plan A, realize, uh-oh.
Well, that's why I love kind of like Togwaggle games and stuff like that. That deck is fun to watch because you can do so many different things. There's so many directions you can go. With this game, we are going to have Odd Rogue from Amnesiac up against the Shutter Shaman from Docpwn, and the game plans are going to be fairly linear. What Amnesiac's going to try and do is develop a board that is threatening enough to warrant, removal from Docpwn, but not so much of an overcommitment to where he can't reload afterwards. Kind of drag the game out and make sure he gets lots of values out of his hero power. That's kind of the strength of the Odd Rogue deck. And so it can turn into a pretty long, drawn-out game, even though it is aggro against control, just because the Shaman doesn't have much removal. Its removal is usually too much for any given scenario and then can run out of cards at a certain point in the game.
Yeah, and the Rogue has to be very careful to just get the right amount of pressure. We talk about that a lot. If you don't get enough, they don't use their AoE. If you use too much, then you're
going to run out of fuel. Yeah, you want to be able to prolong the game to around turn 9 or 10 so you can weave in enough hero powers to get close enough to killing them. But if you prolong the game too long, they complete the Shutter combo and you're dead. So it's a window of opportunity situation where you have to open the window just wide enough.
There's a pretty key card for this game in particular, although he already has 2 Cold Bloods in hand. So providing the late game burst, when everything you just discussed has happened, you go for the Myras and see what burst you can draw for maybe 2 more turns.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, he's got the Cold Bloods. Typically, that card's used to try and find 1 or 2 Cold Bloods. In this case, it's going to be used to try and find Deckhand or Deadly Poison. Goes with, you know, the obvious play here. You don't want to dagger up on this turn. You just want to start jamming that Cold Blood. Docpwn does have 2 Earth Shocks to reasonably respond to this, but even still, it's pretty clunky and awkward.
Yeah, and it's good use of your mana. You get that 4 damage in there early, and often it will get in there twice. And already Docpwn put to a really horrible question of, I mean, I don't think he would do it, but Coin Lightning Storm's a legitimate answer to this question because it's so much damage coming in so quickly.
Yeah, there's only 1 Vicious Fledgling for Amnesiac, so that's a big thing to note here. Docpwn doesn't run any Lightning Bolts, so he wouldn't be able to answer it after the Coin Storm. So that's maybe what deters him from going for the Storm, is he wants to be able to try and catch the 3-drop from Amnesiac in it, but maybe a little punish not going for the Coin Storm there. It's a lot of damage coming in. I would have been really tempted to coin that Storm and just hope he doesn't hit the one of Fledgling. But, you know, being a little patient, he does have the Healing Rain, so he's got maybe a little bit of health total to work with.
And working on very little information, Amnesiac has to try and work out now if he's worth going for this second Cold Blood.
Oh.
Probably won't because it's too all in.
It's too much,
But he knows there's no Earthshock in hand, so...
He needs to get the hero powers in. Each hero power is 4 damage. You want to get those hero powers in, you got to weave it in. I think it's just play the Firefly, squeeze the hero power button. You know, your board's stuck. Let's not overcommit into a Lightning Storm. And then the other side of it, though, is maybe you commit into this Lightning Storm, maybe you have the minion live afterwards. If the minion lives as a 3-1, you're pushing 3 damage. If you dagger up, you're pushing 4 damage over 2 turns, though. So, you know, end result of the day, I think you push more damage with just the hero power most of the time. He's going to differ. He's going to go for the SI7. Storm comes out, he will have a minion in play half the time. Yeah. Maybe he reads that there's no Storm. Docpwn didn't even touch the coin on the previous turn.
Well, if there is a Storm and your man lives, how do you lose the game? Because you're overloaded going into the Hex turn then.
Well, they have other things beyond Hex, right? He's not having to use the coin here, so he could coin a second Lightning Storm after the fact. He could have the Earth Shock potentially. You put the read here for Amnesiac that Docpwn doesn't have the Earth Shock because he would have Earth Shocked that Firefly right off the bat.
Dagger, Firefly, Cold Blood on my 50%er.
Yeah. Half
the time. I mean, that's just the damage on that turn alone is a lot, and then you get your next draw, your opponent's overloaded again in your worst case scenario, which are pretty close to your worst case scenario because of this Glacial Shard.
50-50 here, and this is big. Amnesiac's going to win the flip, so this gives him his SI play a lot more value. Without that SI living there, it would have been a pretty scary situation for Amnesiac, but with it living, it looks pretty good for him. He's going to be able to potentially Cold Blood it next turn, and assuming Doc doesn't pick up a second Lightning Storm to coin out, push a lot of damage. Interesting to me that he assessed that as I need this 50-50. That is weird, right? He does have a weak hand. He has a weak hand for sure for the matchup, right? He has one of the weakest 3-drops in the matchup. But yeah, it is a good point. He was looking at that hand and was like, I drew double Cold Blood. I just need to go. Your play was the very steady, right? I wanted to go the safe option.
Damage over turns, and that looks like the more sensible option. But he has, by doing this, he has evaluated I need to take a chance here.
Yeah, and he comes out of the taking the chance favorably. So he took a 50-50, which now puts him in a very strong position in the game. Which, you know, I guess was worth the risk in his mind.
Yeah, again, and if it's worth the risk, he thinks he's behind. Otherwise, he doesn't take the risk.
Right, exactly.
Decent pickup here with the Fungalmancer.
Well, now that the risk paid off, he feels he doesn't need to commit the second Cold Blood. He also wants to get more minions in play simply for the Fungalmancer. The Storm's gone, so he's feeling very comfortable about landing the Fungalmancer. Docpwn's overloaded, so he's going to be unable to coin Volcano or something like that to be able to clean up for this.
And the second Cold Blood can wait. There'll be Leroy's later. You've got Myra's in hand. You've got a good chance of picking up that Leroy to go with it. And Docpwn does have decent options considering the mana available, though. With that Glacial Shard and Earthshock available now.
Yeah, can stop the 3-1, freeze one of the minions, so the Fungalmancer is a lot less damaging to him. Not in a horrible spot at all.
And then obviously with Healing Rain and Hexers, looks like he's got every chance of stabilizing, especially with Electra into Healing Rain. That's just absolutely punishing when you do that turn.
Right. Yeah, Amnesiac's not going to be happy to see the Glacial Shard come out.
Yeah, because that would have been played also on turn one if it was there.
Yeah, if he had it. But
the fact that both have been picked up by Docpwn is going to be a test for Amnesiac's early morning nerves. Not nerves, but state of mind. Get out of bed, feel a bit grumpy. Somebody draws 2 good cards against you.
Going into turn 5, he opts to freeze the face, which is peculiar.
Yeah, maybe the read, there's no Fungalmancer there.
I don't know how you would make that read.
Amnesiac went all in on turn 3 with another minion.
Yeah. That could be said as just he wants to force the AoE so that he can reload with the Firefly.
I'm not saying it's the right read, I'm just saying it's a read that maybe he thinks that Cold Blood is not a Fungalmancer somehow. It's an impossible read to make for me.
I have no idea.
Not all reads are correct. Sometimes they work out by chance.
Right. This is seems to be a very clear fungal go all to the face. Punish Docpwn for freezing the wrong target a little bit. I mean, he's only gaining, you know, he gains a dagger charge and he gains a 1 damage this way. So the freeze, even though it looks a little weird, isn't that bad, but I do think it is worse than the other options.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now we're in the spot where, you know, if Amnesiac picks up Leroy, Docpwn's gonna die. There's not much he can do to play around that. He does eventually have Electra healing rain.
Yeah, too early for that though, I'd say now, because your board just gets mown down and you end up back in the same spot in 2 turns' time.
It is a lot of healing though. We heal to full health and then maybe have Volcano afterwards. Maybe too safe. You could clear first and then try and risk the healing afterwards, but I don't mind the healing.
That's what he's gonna go for.
Yeah, there's 6 pressure in play. It's not the worst thing in the world for you. You're most likely going to be able to clean up with whatever with the Volcano on the next turn.
So there is 10 health on board. That would go down to 5 health, sorry, if out of 11, if the Electra were to bump in. So Amnesiac, if he was to play around Volcano, just hasn't got the hand to do so. Would need to put an awful lot of stuff on the board. And he can put exactly 15, which is no use to him.
Yeah, it's not looking super pretty for Amnesiac.
The Henchclown Thug in the SI7, killing off the Electra, just puts 15 health on board after the attack.
Yeah.
And that's just not what you want to do right now.
And it plays into MC tech. So I'm going to just go with the Cold Blood, hoping that there's no Volcano. Strong commitment.
I mean, that extra 4 damage you keep talking about from that hero power over the next couple of turns.
Well, yeah, it all starts from the turn 3. The turn 3 when he committed the extra minion there. When he's played this, he's kind of forced himself into this direction where Volcano is not going to be a card that he's going to be able to beat too often.
And he does have that Myra's, that is a big deal. That's
well, it's not drawing into any Cold Bloods anymore, though. So it's just significantly weaker because of how the pan out came from. His hand was not good this game. And so now this Myra is going to be drawing towards Leroy, Deckhand, and Deadly Poison for the bursts.
Yeah, you've even lost both SI7s, which is sometimes your top-up damage.
Right. The upside for him is Docpwn did use one of the 2 healing rains, so he's not going to have all that much in the way of direct healing.
I always find it amusing. I mean, I find it's amusing a lot in the current meta, is that... That's a nice pickup. The Shudderwock doesn't need to do its Shudderwock thing to win this game. It needs to not die for a while, put a couple of taunts down, heal up, and then... The inevitable conclusion is you would win, but the game ends and people concede, and you don't actually have to go through the next 20 turns.
It is true. At Rogue, though, it's a resilient deck. If you really value those hero powers, it can actually stretch this game out quite long.
I mean, Hunter, we always talk about weaving in hero powers, or did until Death Battle became a thing. And Odd Rogue has to do it every other turn. So you have far much more mana available. Green Skin, Deadly Poison. Deadly Poison!
Picking up both of those Deadly Poisons is spicy. That is a large amount of damage, the double Deadly Greenskin. There's no Ooze in the hand of Docpwn currently. He does, of course, run the Gluttonous Ooze in his deck. Just hasn't found it yet.
Yeah, the Greenskin giving these Deadly Poisons extra legs as well is going to be interesting to see how Docpwn can cope with this, but Chain Gang does a good job of absorbing chunks of face damage.
It's not too bad at it, it's just... Holy smokes, that's a lot of damage with the double Deadly Greenskin.
It's just silly.
Just a 7 damage dagger.
The Vile Spine will also do quite a bit. He did pick up all his damage.
It's all of it. Like, all of the remaining damage in his entire deck was picked up. He got the Leroy, he got the Deadlies. He's just missing 1 deckhand as far as damage cards in the entire deck is concerned.
How unlucky.
Yeah. So yeah, the hand started out pretty rough for Amnesiac, but the Myra's there was pretty forgiving.
So many.
You might use the Greenskin now. It just lines up your dagger charge so conveniently to keep the minions in play. You don't need as much damage as he has. You could also go for a Vile Spine this turn. I wouldn't hate that. You use the mole in your face and a Vile Spine to clear.
What else do you need to Vile Spine maybe over the next couple of turns? That might be a problem.
Nothing really, yeah.
Might be the right time to get the value out of that card. Deadly Poisons can wait a turn or two. You're not dying anytime soon.
He's got plenty of time here. The fatigue clock is very slow on his life total. So it looks like he's opting for the Vile Spine play.
Yeah, this also allows him 2 mana to re-dagger this way around, which just sets up next turn beautifully.
He's thinking between the two. You see him pick up the Greenskin, pick up the Argent Square. He doesn't know if he wants to Vile Spine or Greenskin. He's going to move away from the Vile Spine and go with the Greenskin. It puts more stats in play when you go for the Greenskin. He's trading off his 2-1 to play around MC Tech from Docpwn. Shudderwalk Shaman is a deck that runs 2 copies of Mind Control Tech, so makes a lot of sense to get that deckhand off the field, reduce your minion total to 3 minions in play.
This way he has lethal from hand if the board is cleared and lethal on board if it's not. It's quite nice.
Double Deadly Leroy, very nice. So yeah, Docpwn needs to clear the board and heal.
And freeze the face. Or freeze the face.
Yeah, he's dead. That Myra's just hit all of the damage. You would usually not expect Myra's to get that much damage, but yeah. Amnesiac played the hand pretty well, right? He played all of the minions very aggressively as soon as he drew that Myra's. He was anticipating trying to get, 8 or 9 cards off this Myra's. And I think that was what he was doing with the SI on turn 3, was just dumping it out of his hand. He's playing very aggressively towards Myra's to be able to push. He utilized the card very well. So.
And the extra card is the Deadly Poison on the end there, which could have been a deal.
Could have been a deal, yeah. So it makes a lot of sense when you look at, you think about how the matchup's typically played, and then you look at how Myra's changes it. Myra's definitely changed the way I think Amnesiac played this game.
Amnesiac reached for his pen there, I think. The second he saw the Hex, he just noting down that it's 1-0.
Yeah.
There's not enough mana to do everything anymore.
It's over. Well, you could Storm Glacial Shard, I guess. But, yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I mean, it's
7,
a million.
6,
I didn't bother counting it. It's like, I can't count that high.
Here we go.
Nice 1-0. Always nice to get the win in the first game in Last Hero Standing. Obviously, you set yourself up for that 3-2 win. It never works out that way because no one ever wins 60% counter queues all the way down. It's not very often, at least.
Right.
Turns out that 60% don't always win. But it does put him in a good spot.
Very good spot. This Odd Rogue doesn't have too much opposition on the other side. I guess the best answer is the Token Druid. Token Druid typically does pretty well against Odd Rogue, so we'll probably see that come out from Docpwn. Docpwn's other answer would be an Even Warlock. Even Warlock fares pretty horribly against Odd Rogue.
They're hitting you with their hero power, and you're hitting yourself with your hero power. That doesn't end well. It's usually close. If you miss playing that matchup, you can definitely lose it as the Rogue, because the Warlock can then start making 7/7s, and if you don't get through, if you don't save the right things back, if you don't force every point of damage, it can go wrong.
Right.
But in general, you're right. I like the Odd Rogue there a lot.
Especially if they draw Vile Spine Slayer. That card is absolutely absurd in that matchup. So we're probably going to see the Token Druid come out, but you can't really count Docpwn out just yet. The Token Druid, I would say, is even or favored versus pretty much all of Amnesiac's decks. Token Druid is favored against Death Rattle Hunter, even with Amnesiac having MC Tech and Mossy Horror in there as tech cards that are quite powerful in that matchup. I would still give the edge to the Token Druid. Token Druid is slightly favored against Odd Rogue, and Token Druid is I would say, maybe slightly unfavored against Warlock to about even footing. So, he's got game. He's got chances for sure. This Tempo Storm lineup is no hard counters. It's really just a kind of mid-rangey, soft counter sort of lineup where...
which is good. I like that sort of thing.
It's interesting.
Hard countering stuff in LHS, you can do it, but it can go so badly wrong and you can be so predictable. Whereas if you just... I think it matters how good you are compared to the field, how good you think you are.
Right, you have to be...
If you're a good player, you want more versatile decks.
Right, if you're going to take a bunch of 50-50s, you better say, you know what, I can outplay you and give myself the edge.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to go to tournaments, obviously expecting myself to be middle of the pack or slightly sort of top half, I would go with very
well-rounded,
polarized lineup and just take my chance.
Sure.
Like, if I run into this, I win. If I run into this, I lose.
If you feel like
take away
you're
the skill from my opponent, take away their edge.
But if you feel like you're the best player in the room, you're going to bring decks where you have the opportunity to build your own edges because they are 50-50 matchups.
And
they
that
are
allows
really
them to do the mathematics thing. You say just take the best lineup mathematically, however they do those stats, whatever they use. They must have to be very careful to filter things out. I imagine they gave the data rather than using stat site data?
They did tell me that while they were doing the stats, that there were lineups that were technically higher win percentage, but then had a very large variance factor.
And you don't want that if you think you're the best player in the room.
Right, and they opted to not go for the higher variance lineups and try and focus on what was the highest win rate lineups while being the most consistent. So, you know, the Tempo Storm guys believe they are the best. They want to bring lineups that can highlight the fact that they can outplay their opponents.
It's much more easy to influence a matchup that's, say, 50-50 statistically with your skill advantage than one that's 90-10.
Right.
You might be able to turn that 10 into 12, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, right? You still lose the Hearthstone game. But whereas if it's 50-50, you can turn it into 58-42, then suddenly you're having a massive difference over several rounds of Swiss.
Right. And even just over several rounds of the best of 5, you know, a couple games there of similar results like that, and suddenly you're a huge favorite.
And they're showing that time and time again. I mean, we talk about Amnesiac and Muzzy, but Sayan's having a great season as well. He's just been eclipsed by not getting the wins at the semi-final stages and stuff. Sort of at 2-all in one game of Hearthstone or something has made his season look worse than it is. He's having a terrific year.
And speaking of the opposite of terrific, Docpwn's hand is, he had the wild growth, but there is nothing else going for him right now. He's got double Soul of the Forest, Savage Roar, which are, I would say, some of the lowest win rate possible cards in the matchup.
Yeah, so if you don't get to play, so the way that the Druid needs to win this game, I always find, they drop an early Whispering Woods and not have all those wiped out by the Rogue quickly, and then you win. Because the Rogue can't deal with the wide board, other than the first turn where it can make some trades and take some dagger shots. But with this lot, if you're going on the defensive as Druid, the Rogue will get a wide enough board that when you do get to play those Wisps, then it just kills them all. Exactly. They've got 3 or 4 minions down plus their dagger, your Wisps aren't sticking anymore. And you're dumping your hand.
Yeah.
So your Wisps are smaller to start with.
It's just not looking good for Doc. He's going to need to make it to Ultimate Infestation somehow. A Nourish would be really helpful here to make it to the Death Knight to then get things rolling. Yeah. But without something happening off the top of his deck, it looks like he's going to be in a really tough spot because Coin Fungalmancer is going to be a nightmare for him.
Yeah, Druid not known for its ability to deal with 1 minion at a time, especially there's 2 or 3 mid-sized minions as well. Not even a spreading play to slow down, to put a speed bump in the way.
Amnesiac here debating the swing or not. Holding back the swing is kind of nice because it allows you to, you know, not have to redagger as quickly, but it also kind of bluffs Coin Captain Greenskin. Your opponent could maybe put you on that, not respect your Fungalmancer as much when you're thinking about it so long. But he's opting to go for the swing because he has a curve. He's Coin Fungalmancer and swing again, into redagger, swing again. So he wants to just maximize his damage, try and end this game before Docpwn can make it to Malfurion, before Docpwn can make it to Spreading Plague and you know, the Ultimate Infestations and what have you. And wow, no help off the top of his deck. 5 mana, 4/4 coming out.
Big deal playing this Tyrant out because that almost gives away he has got no Spreading Plague.
Oh yeah.
You might play it anyway this turn, but you might not. If you've got Spreading Plague in hand, there's a good chance you keep that back.
It's pretty clear kind of what's in his hand now from Amnesiac's side. He can think that there's maybe Ultimate Infestation. He can think that there's Soul of the Forest, Savage Roars. And that's kind of about it. Maybe Flubinous Floop, but...
Say that again?
Flubinous Floop.
Hold on.
Yeah, but he's not really afraid of anything. He knows that there's no Giggling Inventor in the hand. As you said, no Spreading Plague.
However, there was no Spreading Plague.
Yeah, now there is.
Good read, Amnesiac.
Well, it's not like his play is going to differ either way.
I know. It's always fun to watch somebody, how they react when they get top decked, having made the read. Nothing annoys the players more than, I know he's got no Spreading Plague in next turn. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Those are the games the players come away and tell you how they outplayed their opponent when actually they just made 1 read and something went wrong.
Oh man, Doc's still not out of the woods yet though. You can't even make the 3 taunts, you can only make 2 taunts.
And that was another problem with having to play the Tyrant last turn. Another reason that Amnesiac would have known that the Plague wasn't there.
He didn't have to play the Tyrant last turn. He could have went for Savage Roar, Hero Power, kill the Dire Mole. It feels depressing, but I think it was a play worth thinking about last turn.
Yeah, Savage Roar for clear. I mean, you don't need to win with a Savage Roar for damage when you're this far behind. You need to just not die, like you say, stabilize with Malfurion.
Usually, if you're playing Druid versus Odd Rogue and you play Ultimate Infestation, they concede. If they don't concede after that, that's because they're so absurdly ahead that it doesn't matter. But most of the time, after you play UI, the game's over because that's usually followed up with spreading plague, branching paths, or something silly.
All that stupid stuff that they do.
So it's just crucial to make it to the turn 10, and doing any action that can make you get there easier is usually the best play.
And again, going with the read from the previous turn, there's no spinning play, he can go as wide as he likes here again. It's probably the right play, even if he knows about it, but on this turn he knows that was the top deck, he knows it's the only one. Same deal, got to deal with it again. Pick another one up.
The Malfurion's going to come in clutch here to stop the lethal setup here from Amnesiac. He has 10 damage in his hand, and then he has the 7 damage on the board.
Oh no-ish. Just teasing here.
It's not too bad still. It's not too bad.
It's good next turn.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to need that fuel going forward.
No-ish is used for cards quite a bit in this deck, isn't it? As opposed to mana, like you'd imagine.
Yeah, with the Token Druid has some flexibility with it. With Malagos Druid and some of the other forms of Druid, it's like always used for mana, but here it can differ. He opts to go for the taunts, obviously, because he's dying, and he feels he can't get away with the spiders. If you can get away with the spiders, they're almost always better, but typically your opponent's going to try and pressure you. See Docpwn shaking there his head as the Myers gets drawn, and Amnesiac gets the Void Ripper. That's a key tech card in this matchup, able to take care of the spreading plagues and the beetles pretty handily, so it's nice not to mill that, but he does not get any Cold Bloods off the Myres. Yeah,
he didn't get a whole lot from there this time around. I mean, obviously, he gets that Ripper, he gets the Slayer might help him if it gets really tight, green skin, but nothing else to note.
Not as good as the Myres from last game. The Myres from last game just hit damage, 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 and this one's hit a little bit damage here, a little bit of utility, but just, I would say underwhelming. He's thinking about trying to save the dagger charge for the green skin. Does he need that extra value of the 5-2 weapon, or can he afford to try and clear here? He's going to say, I need that extra value to go the distance in this game.
Yeah, and the value being the 2 mana. It's almost a tempo thing. He can't afford 2 mana next turn to be messing around. In fact, next turn, this is where
the second plague is picked up.
Odd decks can suffer. Like the sum of all their cards, you've got no 7-drop to mean anything, so making a 7-mana play can be a bit tricky. That's why the dagger's so great.
He's got the 1-drop double SI, save the dagger again, then go for greenskin the turn after kind of thing. Nothing looks super pretty.
And that second plague is going to be a massive deal.
Yeah, he's got the Void Ripper to try and do something to the second plague, but it's still a hassle. Even when they're 5-1s, they're still taunts, and there's still a lot of them, and they trade with your board quite well. Might see the Giggling and the Blood Knight sometime soon when the mana gets high enough, just to try and have that 1 minion push. Sure. And Docpwn is playing a deck list that is quite susceptible to the Blood Knight. He is opted to go for 2 Giggling Inventors and 1 Serenite Chain Gang. A lot of players have gone with the 1 Giggling Inventor, double Serenite Chain Gang build of the Token Druid because there are so many Blood Knights out there in the metagame.
Yep, Mossy Horrors as well. Gigglings don't like. Okay, they're better against Chain Gang because it's turn X to it's on the board. Right. Not because they're actually better against it's exactly the same, but the Chain Gang hangs around longer.
Soul of the Force going here to try and keep generating some amount of board presence.
Obviously, the work's a lot harder for Amnesiac with that Malfurion. Those 3 armor a turn nullifies a minion before you start. First minion you play does nothing.
Docpwn trying to assert presence on the board rather than going for Nourish that turn for cards. He feels like he just needs to get stuff on the board, and if he gets stuff on the board, maybe he can clear with Roar, maybe he can make it to the point where Amnesiac runs out of stuff.
Yeah, might encourage Amnesiac to go a little bit wider than he should if there's 2 2/2s facing him down. Then you've got the Spreading Plague to tidy up the mess while you try and draw actual Hearthstone cards in your hand.
And Amnesiac made the read earlier that Docpwn didn't have the Plague, and then he top-decked a Plague.
Yeah, and another one.
And now he's top-decked another one. So he has an idea in his mind that Docpwn very likely does not have a Plague. And, you know, that could make him go as wide as possible this turn and be in all sorts of trouble.
That being said, Docpwn hasn't had much going on at all for 2 turns. There's not that many cards he could have top decked, so maybe Amnesiac, he won't think there's a plague, but he'll be alert to the fact that all is not well.
Dagger Charge getting used. Green Skin is going to be a lot less value here, just to try and fight to the board. It's a very powerful board presence that Amnesiac's put out. The Flame Elemental going down too, not respecting second Plague top deck. Valuing getting that pressure out there. Every 1 damage he thinks counts.
When you speak to people about Amnesiac, I think that we've talked a lot about hand reading in this game. I think people regard him as one of the best at that.
Yeah, I think he's a very strong hand reader. I play with Amnesiac quite often, you know, on ladder, hanging out, whatever, co-streaming, things of that nature. He's got hand reads that I would say are better than mine usually, and I'm usually pretty spot on with the hand reads.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that thing. Especially when you're casting. You seem to know all the cards.
I see everything. Yeah, I don't know how I do it. But yeah, he's definitely one of the players I would say is a very strong hand reader. And it can get you in trouble on ladder sometimes because players can play pretty unpredictably. You try and make a hand read on a guy that maybe just got up to go to the washroom and that's why it took him so long, or is alt-tabbing and watching Netflix sometimes.
Or he's bad.
Or he's just bad because it's ladder. So, you know, sometimes it's hard to make hand reads, but Docpwn's a player you can make hand reads against because he's a solid player.
Intelligent, and yeah, he's going to make intelligent moves. Even if he makes mistakes, he's going to be like an intelligent mistake. It's going to be something he's done for a reason that you can deduce.
He's going to be killing the 6-2 here. This does not play around the Void Ripper as well as if he were to kill the 1-2, taking less face damage. So the Void Ripper is kind of a big deal here.
Well, Amnesiac knows there's no more plagues. Void work that one out.
Second SI can come down and he can clean up this.
That looks nice. That looks really nice.
He's got the Leroy to follow up. There's no UI yet for Docpwn. He's going to need like a branching paths or something to kind of stabilize.
Yeah, I think that the only reason Amnesiac took any time here is to make sure there's no lethal.
Right.
This guy's toast.
Yeah, he'll have seen this play instantly just like you did, but he's got to make sure, hang on, got all this stuff going on and it's so close. Just check I haven't got some sort of convoluted blizzard lethal puzzle that, you know, I could do in 70 seconds maybe if I'm lucky.
He needs a branching paths to gain enough armor to even have a chance, right? There's a branching path, so that would give him 12 up to 15. He can swipe away a minion and kill another minion with his hero power or gain armor. Assuming he's trying to play around Leroy, there's 9-15 coming at him. The swipe removes 3, so there's 12 plus the, oh, I didn't even factor in the dagger. There's 12 plus the dagger, so 14 coming at him, and he can be at 15 while killing a 3-3. So he can survive.
Got him.
He can survive at 1 while killing 2 3-3s. This turn if he would like, or he could go with armor, leaving the 3-3s behind and try and find the top deck of another answer. But with no plague coming,
yeah, there's not many answers left.
Yeah, he might have to kill the 3-3, so try to hang around at 1 and then see what you can do with the board development. Amnesiac still has a lot of gas in the tank. He still has 5 cards to go from.
He does. They're not particularly earth-shattering cards. They might be good enough.
It's a 5-4. It's huge right now.
But he's up against a Nourish and some things that can make 0-2-2s.
Right.
What could go wrong?
Huck's going to need another branching paths. He's got to clear. I think he has to go. He's going to go with the armor. That's going to leave more presence around for the coming turns, but it does gain him more life in the meantime.
Yeah, I feel maybe taking a chance there and removing one of these when you're so low on resources and your opponent does only have 5 cards. There's a chance 1 or 2 of those cards are just grim.
Right. He's trying to play around like Leroy Deckhand, you know, Leroy Deadly Poison with the armor here.
Last game he just got Deadly Poison, Leroy.
Maybe a little shell shock.
So maybe he's thinking, Amnesiac's probably got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he would need either second Deadly or second Deckhand alongside the Leroy for lethal around the attack, or if he had Leroy Coldblood, he would add lethal regardless of armor or attack there.
Oh, Docpwn's going to have this Nourish.
Yeah. Is he
needs
dead
to
if
be really
he plays
good.
Ultimate? Oh, he doesn't even get the ultimate. But Amnesiac should have set up lethal, you know, the best he could around Docpwn to have the ultimate there.
Not good. Not good.
Not good.
Not good.
He's going to be dead. And his hand was super weak this game. Double Soul of the Forest, Savage Roar. Not a lot going on for Docpwn. Really, you know, he did his best, and there isn't much he could do with the way the draws panned out. Especially with you know, Amnesiac getting a pretty decent hand and then piloting it very well.
Yeah, and he seems to have this knack for... I mean, he plays a lot of Hearthstone, let's not mess around, but he plays slightly less than maybe some of the other top pros, just because, you know, he's at school, and he's got tennis to play, and he has a life to lead to some extent.
I don't know, he plays just as much as everybody else from my experience.
Does he?
Yeah, he's online all the time. People say, oh, he's so busy with all this other stuff. But he finds time. He finds time. I see him online all the time.
He goes 15 love, and then he runs back to the chair and just has his turn, and then goes to the second point of the game.
I've seen him online on, like, well, you know, noon on a school day. So, you know, I think he's playing on his phone in class or something. He finds the way.
Answers a question and then quickly, I've done my bit for the class. They won't notice if I play a quick game.
Sure. the Odd Rogue being a very fierce competitor, and namely Myra's Unstable Element being really powerful for Amnesiac.
Yeah.
It's a card some people talk about cutting. You know, if you hang out in RDU's stream ever, he's a very prominent player.
He's
of course.
a good streamer to listen to, actually.
Yeah, he
Often
says
takes.
He says he does not like Myra's Unstable Element in Odd Rogue.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's his reason for that? Because it seems good whenever I've seen it played, but it is a card that does nothing to turn you draw it.
He says it's not powerful enough. He thinks it's just not as good as some of the other options. He's like, why would I play Sprint in my Odd Rogue? I think was what he said.
I mean, I can imagine aggro Rogue decks where you would play Sprint.
It's been done before.
You
it's
get
never
4
been good,
more cards.
But Myra's is a little bit better than Sprint, I would say.
But it is, I mean, it is a way of looking at it that makes sense. From what I've seen of Myra's, it's just really good.
You have to
because of all the bursts in your deck.
Right, and you have to kind of plan for playing it too. The first game when Amnesiac had it, you saw him just play that game hyper aggressively, and I was sitting here like, what is he doing? He's really not
emptying his hand.
He's not hero powering at all. And then I figured it out. Oh, he's playing towards this Myra's, and he's getting 2 extra cards.
Oddly enough, if that's Divine Favor, that play doesn't look odd at all.
Right.
It's
For
basically
some
the same
reason,
card.
yeah, it's exactly a Divine Favor, and for some reason, you know, we haven't really caught on to it as much as we should, I guess, in the Hearthstone community.
I think it's because it's a Divine Favor you want to delay as long as possible. Again, Divine Favor, you delay as long as possible as well. So this game, all about pacing. Get as much as you can down without going over.
Yeah, you want to be able to set up the ability to burst your opponent down before they're able to play their Hooked Reavers. So you want to keep their life total above 15 until just the right moment when you go in and kill them. Yeah,
either the Hooked Reaver's good. Yeah, just got to make sure that it's just not good enough.
Sometimes as the Rogue, you get a hand where you can kind of play a controlling game. You can Vile Spine the Giant or what have you, build a really big board up, and then eventually the Warlock runs out of removal and just kind of falls over and dies. So,
and it can go the other way. Someone's just go, my hand is so good. Play a Hooked Reaver, I don't care.
Right, and just run him over.
Keep killing you. And this looks like it a little bit like 1 card away from maybe being that sort of hand with this powerful setup.
If Amnesiac picks up a Vile Spine, Docpwn is dead. He's got the 1-drop. He's got the best 3-drop. This 3-drop plays around to the Warlock removal really well. Spellstone, Hellfire, both don't kill it. So the Hench Clan Thug is above and beyond what he could kind of expect the board presence to generally be. It's the best 3-drop for the matchup by a huge margin over the other ones. Even better than, say, Vicious Fledgling, which is typically the strongest one against control decks.
Seeing a lot of ooze in this tournament, is that mainly because of Druid? Because I feel like a lot of Druids don't rely on that twig anymore anyway. They obviously love it, they win if they get it going, so you need to deal with it, but I feel like Druids have sort of steered around it by playing token a lot.
Well, yeah, there's the Druids, then there's everyone pretty much has a Rogue in their lineup, whether it's Odd or Quest, you know, the ooze isn't too bad. The 2-drops in this game suck, so there's just not a lot of good options for the 2-drop stat line, so you kind of just don't feel too bad running an ooze in any of your decks.
Hey, play Keleseth even lock.
Yeah, no. You kind of need that Defile. It took me a minute to process what you were saying there for a second.
Sarcastic I am, man, yeah. You need all those good cards.
There's a lot of Keleseth in the metagame in general. There's so many decks out there that are just like, my class has no 2-drops. All right, Keleseth. Like, you look at the Hunter, for example.
Even Shudderwock Shaman. I mean, Shudderwock Shaman doesn't need Keleseth. Yeah, I know you occasionally go Keleseth into Zola and do silly things, but it doesn't need a Keleseth. There's just nothing better.
Yeah, there's just, what am I going to play on 2 in this class? And it's like, I have no idea. So, Keleseth.
I think that was one of the most underrated cards when it was first released. I think Zigzo stuck it in Zoo for a couple of days, had a bit of success, and everyone just forgot about it.
Well, it wasn't good when it was first released, I don't think. The season after, and there was like the rotation happened, stuff like that, right? And then it just kind of exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chain Gang, I think, brought that card into a whole new light as well.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Chain Gang, obviously. It's amazing how having that +1/+1. But, you know, I know people like to suggest it for golden cards sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen that suggestion before. I don't think anyone's ever saying it seriously.
I like that idea. It's great.
No. I know you don't like that idea.
Stop giving away my secrets.
13 health for Docpwn, so he is in the range where he can play the Hooked Reaver. He's thinking about it. If he does play the Hooked Reaver, the Tar Creeper kind of prevents any of the decent trades from happening down on the board. Powerful minion, the Tar Creeper.
There's a lot of Tar Creepers about, you were saying yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of players are now bringing it to tournament lineups because There's so much aggro going on, and in aggro mirrors, Tar Creeper is one of the best minions you can possibly have. Board-centric, aggressive mirrors where the taunt is just so impactful on being able to dictate the trades, whether you're behind or ahead on tempo.
I feel that when we look back at like Hearthstone's history in 10 years' time, I think Tar Creeper is one of those cards where the game started to change. It was a time when the realization that having things just trade into each other and killing each other all the time wasn't enhancing the skill. Cards like Tar Creeper, where it's a good defender, but it's a taunt that can't attack, sort of started to break the mold substantially. I think it was very underrated in terms of design.
Yeah, I've played a lot of card games, and there's always a Tar Creeper-like card in every card game.
Yeah.
It's always really, really good.
But it's also, I like the way it's got the 1/5, because that was like groundbreaking. Oh, it's only 1/5, it's not a good offensive minion. We've got to use it as a defender and use it for its intended purpose. And it still ends up in aggro deck, because the defending is so good at protecting your board.
Right, exactly. Being able to allow your small minions to go face, being able to control the trades without having to trade is the essential idea of it, right? You get to force your opponent to take bad trades, but you don't actually have to trade into their minions to cause that to happen.
Just looking at how Amnesiac has gone about setting up this Void Ripper here. Knowing, obviously, that Hooked Reaver is the card he wants to avoid.
The Void Ripper gives him the 4 attack from the minions there.
A little bit extra going in there. A bit more face damage you can chip in when it comes to it.
Right, and if there is no Hooked Reaver, then he has lethal setup.
Yeah.
With just 10 damage.
That's always nice. I heard some guy once said about you should always set up lethal if you can.
Pretty much.
Admiral mentioned it once.
I think yeah. Most of the time, I think it's correct to set up lethal. I think it's sometimes it's not correct, but putting your opponent in check is usually pretty good.
Talking of pretty good, Cold Blood off the top here for Amnesiac. Giving him a lot more options, not on just on this turn, but for winning the game on the turn after as well.
Yes. Use the Void Ripper to maybe push this turn. Save the SI7 to be able to get the combo in.
Options.
How much damage can he really do?
It's only looking like 2, actually.
He could do 4. He could push the dagger to the face, right? Yeah. So, setting your opponent down to 5 with, 3 being able to threaten your dagger and your SI7 next turn is not where you want to be, because that's only 4 coming at your opponent next turn. Is there anything better?
Options.
This is the downside of playing his curve so tightly, of course. The second you pick something else up, it doesn't fit in very nicely.
Reality
Just going to go with extending the minions this turn. Stick with the original plan.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's a nice little position to be there.
If he picks up a Leroy or a deckhand, he's going to be able to use that Cold Blood to great effect and potentially end the game with it. Because he's forcing Docpwn in a position where he wants to clear the board.
And he will be able to activate the Cold Blood no matter what. Every single card is cheaper than 5 or 5 or cheaper, so...
If Docpwn doesn't clear the board, yeah, he's in a world of hurt.
And you can't Hellfire here because you're dead to everything in Amnesiac's deck.
You have to Hellfire here.
But if you don't Hellfire, you're dead to the board, you can see.
He's going to Hellfire. He's probably even going to play the Vulgar Homunculus, so he's not dead to just Leroy.
Makes sense.
So...
Powers of his Spellstone.
Yeah.
Kills the next minion, gets 7 back.
So now Amnesiac has to be thinking about that Spellstone. There's not much he can do to play around it, though. I mean, not play his minion, maybe make Docpwn have to Spellstone his own minion. One of those kind of tricky plays, but in that case, he's just got the Shroom Brewer. It's looking like Amnesiac's kind of running out of gas. It's a favorable matchup for him, but he didn't hit the most key card, which is Vilespine Slayer. You're going to want to hit that Vilespine Slayer, and he's gotten really close to be able to take down Docpwn. But
Patches the Moon Eater, not doing him any favors.
Yeah. When you draw Baku, it's really sad. The one downside with those Baku, Gan, Patches style of cards is they can create a lot of variance, because when you do draw them, it's just an absolute dead card, especially in this deck. Less so with the Gen
in the even
decks.
lock, actually, Gen fits quite nicely as a hefty enough minion at the end of all. You just hit people with 8/8s and 4/10s and things. It's like, oh, here's a 6/5 on curve. This will do, because you've just eaten all their resources anyway.
But with the Baku decks, especially the Odd Rogue does not really have any room for bad draws. There's no card draw in the deck. It needs to have a streamlined, well, it does have the Myra's on development.
But we were just talking about how Myra's, even RDU thinks maybe it's not good enough.
Right.
So what's a 9-mana 7/8 if Myra's isn't good enough?
Yeah, with the aggro decks, you have a window of opportunity to close the game, and if you miss that window, you're dead. So having bulky, unstreamlined resources really can cost you a lot of games. One dead card is the difference between, you know, the 2 damage required to close the game sometimes.
I hear the Baku's really good when you get it from Katharina, though.
I've seen that on stream. Yeah.
The ball control versus Zixo yesterday, that was a thing
I don't
that
think
happened.
either of them expected that to happen.
I don't think so.
They both looked so surprised. He was expecting, you know, maybe a 3-3 comes out of this, what have you, and then 9-7. Or 8-7.
7-8.
7-8. I don't even know the stats.
Yes, because no one looks at them, so you're dead if it's in your hand.
Right, exactly. You're not playing that turn. It isn't too bad in Odd Warrior. Sometimes you can play it.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's the sort of thing you're looking at.
Yeah.
A deck where you just happen to have... And the fact it interferes with your hero power as well is just so irritating.
Yeah.
If it costs 7 and has to like scale down the stats accordingly
Right, it'd
to a
be
5,
so
6,
much easier, yeah.
At least then it's a card you can play. I mean, last turn it would have been great, for instance. But, well, great. Relative to its patches.
Right, and Docpwn's trying to, you know, put a label on this card. What could it be? And he's thinking that it could potentially be a Leroy. It could potentially be a Baku.
It almost always comes down to a flip between Leroy and Baku when you get stuck on what's that card in Rogue.
Right. And
almost always comes down to that exact flip.
He can't really beat a Leroy.
And it doesn't help you much apart from you can't beat one and you can beat the other, so you play as if it's the other.
He can beat a Leroy technically if he goes Spellbreaker and then heals himself with the Shroom Brewer.
But also, how quickly can he win this game if he gets a Lich King down and a Giant over the next couple of turns? I mean, Amnesiac's down to 14.
He's respecting the Leroy. Oh, it's ugly. I wanted to see the Lich King come down this
I
turn.
do too, I think. And just take your chance. If he's a Vile Spine, GG, well done, you got me.
Oh, good thing. Let's see, what is that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, but no way to combo the Cold Blood. So he has the damage, but he doesn't have the combo.
But Baku costing 9 instead of 7 is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, if Baku was any other card in his deck, Amnesiac wins the game here. That's how expensive it is to, you know, to have the odd decks going on.
And obviously it's a thing that can happen as well on a regular basis. So it's supposed to be a big downside. I don't think it is a big downside, but
it's a big downside.
The percentage of the time you draw it, it's a big downside.
Right, when you do draw a
percentage.
Well, it's not that small.
I guess we're on turn 9, so it's 1 in 3, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Most games, I'd say, with this deck go to around 8 or 9.
Yeah, so you're 1 in 3-ish, the round numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
Bit more than that.
It's definitely impactful. Now he's thinking, how much all-in does he want to go?
Too soon.
Just jam both Cold Bloods? Maybe this is only opportunity to do it before the taunts come out.
If only they could nerf Eviscerate for 3. Such a better deck. You can set up all these lethals all the time.
Yeah, opts to go with the other option here. The 2 options being push all the damage to the face, set your opponent to 2, or play Baku and hope for the best. Baku would be super weak to, say, second Spellstone, which he assumes Docpwn probably doesn't have.
So 2 things for this. Yeah, last turn looks desperate from Docpwn, like silence your guy, heal my own face. Looks kind of panicky. And also, if you don't get it done next turn, Gul'dan himself just ruins your day horribly. There's been Homunculus has played. Suddenly everything just goes pear-shaped in a hurry. And I don't think Amnesiac expect to see this Lich King. We're both expecting to be played. So,
well,
he won't be shocked, but he'll...
I think he thinks it maybe is a possibility after you see the Spellbreaker heal play come out. You're like, he's respecting Leroy. But, yeah.
Giggling the Inventor gives you a board with which to use these Cold Bloods, but you may have to use one to go through the Lich King.
You don't want to kill the Lich King. Some of those Lich King cards absolutely destroy you, so you can't let him get more than one of those, that's for sure. Not to mention the fact it's an 8-8, that if you're able to clear your board with a Defile or something and punch you with an 8-8, you're going to die.
Cena Hellfire, Lich King card can only do 5, so this plays around most things.
Right. Gul'dan's coming out now, though.
Yeah, and your world 13, you can't get 13 through. Your world gets very difficult from this point on.
He gets the 2-4 taunt coming out. He gets a 4-4.
And you heal for 3 every turn afterwards.
It's over. Yep, he's shaking his head. Here comes the concede.
Well, as long as Myra's is a card I can play on.
You wait and see. That's not Myra's. I mean, you should play it out.
You should, because you're not dead next turn to a lot of hands, including the one we can see.
Maybe get a Cold Blood on one of these Noyatrons, try and push with it twice. Hope there's no removal. Your opponent needs to, like, Yeah, sacrifice their 4/4 on board.
I mean, you're dead to nearly everything in Warlock at this point because they've either got Defile to clear up your board or they've got the Hellfire Ping, etc. But you're not dead to everything. You've got Myras in your deck.
Right.
And one of those cards is Leroy.
There's a chance. Not a good one, but a chance.
So I think, like you say, the two options are to either try and set up a Leroy win next turn and hope you draw like Myras or Leroy, or try and stick a Cold Blood on an Neutron hit face twice, like you were saying. None of those options look fun.
Well, you definitely play all your cards this turn in case you hit Myras. You can go like Myras, Leroy, what have you. Myras Leroy would give him 8 points of total damage.
Now, interesting, Docpwn doesn't have much relevant to clearing this board, I mean.
You can get almost all of it cleared with the Dread Infernal Battle Cry, the Hero Power to trade in. He's facing down a 1/2 with a 4/2 left over afterwards. So even if Amnesiac were to get Leroy, he would have 8-9 damage, and Docpwn will be healing for 3.
He's on 11 unless something goes wrong with his brain. Yeah.
Well, he's on 10 because the Dread Infernal damages him as well. But
sure.
yeah, if he just Dread Infernal Hero Powers, the game's over.
Oh.
Picks up a Vile Spine Slayer.
Seems nice.
Yeah, he's got the mana tier to just take something, so. But I expect Dread Infernal Hero Power to come out. Puts himself to 10 and doesn't die to anything. Except for maybe like Myra's
craziness.
And Cold Blood.
We've seen both
Deadly.
Cold Bloods.
Is he?
So I think we've only seen one SI.
Okay, Myra's Deadly SI or something wacky. But,
yeah, and he hasn't even got the time to hang in there. He gets pinged in the face and takes 1, then 2.
Yeah.
Fatigue, he's dead.
The Vile Spine is even better than the Dread Infernal, actually. Because now he's not taking the 1 damage Battle Cry from the Dread Infernal and still gets the same amount of trades going on. So slightly more optimized play.
Oh, I don't know if it's going to happen, but at least it's going to give some excitement.
Oh my.
Wow.
There's some damage there. That's 4 picked up. He's at 7 total.
Fungalmancer's 2.
Nothing.
I'm out of cards.
He's got time, though. He doesn't have to do it all in 1 turn, but no lethal this turn yet.
He has to do it by next turn, though.
Still no taunts for Docpwn.
2 fatigues will kill him with 1 ping.
The board's going to kill him right now.
Yes, he's got to clear the board, and then next turn he's got to win the game.
Yeah.
The Fungalmancers seem like they're a natural choice to contribute to that winning of the game.
Oh, jeez.
So Tar Creeper, Fungalmancer, put 1 in the way and hope it can't be cleared. Clear a minion with the other. Leaves you 2 mana to drop a couple of minions. Hope they stick. Try and Fungal next turn. Or deckhand to clear the 4/2 and just go wide as you dare and hope they can't kill anything.
Well, Tar Creeper's definitely coming down.
So then you have to deckhand and...
Do you have to deckhand?
You don't have to.
You can take 4 to the face. Like they get to trade in the 3/4 and hero power.
Don't forget your ping your face.
Well, yeah, they have to get through the Tar Creeper, right?
Sure.
Assuming they have no AoE.
Sure.
You can get away with going like deadly deckhand to the face here.
I think my play had Twitch chat mana as well. Had like 14 mana play instead of 5. All right.
He's alive at 1 on the board currently, but the Dread Infernal is going to spell the lethal out.
Yes, it is.
But this is the play I would make in Amnesiac's shoes as well. It seems like if you trade with the deckhand, you're just setting yourself up for failure. You're just not pushing aggressively enough.
Did you need to push that aggressively with the Fungalmancers though? If you can get an Argent Squire and a Mole to stick, just trading the 2/1. I guess you can only play 1 of those 2 cards. You only have 1 mana.
Yeah,
But the Argent Squire
you have
is
to
not
deadly
being removed.
poison that turn, so you can swing over 2 turns because your opponent's healing up. So you only have like the 1 mana. I feel like your opponent can then just hero power your minion and.
Well, you can't hero power an Argent Squire. I mean, you can, but it doesn't do anything.
Oh yeah, it doesn't do anything. It was the Argent Squire. Maybe there's a play there to set up with the fungal, but I think it's just not enough damage fast enough.
And he also only had like 50 seconds to work it all out.
So
right?
if you set up the Argent Squire, the next turn maybe you play the deckhand alongside the fungal, so you get both the fungal buffs
exactly.
still.
That's what I was
and
thinking.
yeah,
That seems like a lot of damage.
it seems like maybe there's a little bit. If you look back at the end game there, maybe you could have pushed and set up a little bit differently there and had more success.
I think he had the same chance of winning, but slightly less chance of getting killed on the backswing.
Right, exactly.
But either way, 2/1 still a decent spot to be in.
If you set up the Argent Squire, you can't deckhand the 4/2.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're thinking if he has 1 more mana than he has. He can't kill the 4/2 and play the Argent Squire. So he would
should have
still
had more
not,
mana.
If he still doesn't kill the 4/2 either way, then he's just dead either way to the Dread Infernal. But the comeback begins for Docpwn. It's going to be a tough route, though. He's got to get through this Hunter, which he said, I don't think Hunter's a very powerful deck. It's a Docpwn quote from yesterday. So let's see if that holds true or not.
That's how this world seems to work. You say something slightly sort of contentious, and then you have to prove it immediately in the next game on stream that you're right. And against Rexxar, that's going to make it difficult for him.
A little bit. He has some tech that's pretty helpful. He has the Skulking Geist as well as double Spellbreaker. Typically speaking, in even Warlock, you're going to be seeing 1 to 0 Spellbreakers as of late. And Spellbreakers, that's because they're not very good in most matchups. They're very, very good in, say, the Mirror, and they're very, very good against specifically Death Rattle Hunter. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Amnesiac's tech cards include a Mossy Horror, and a Mind Control tech, and a double Chain Gang, all of which are just pretty terrible tech cards against even Warlock. So he's prepared for Token Druid with his Hunter and not for this even Warlock. So maybe the tech choices from either side can swing it one way or another, but typically you would expect the Hunter to do well in this matchup.
Does have that one thing to worry about, which is the early Mountain Giant. That is a thing?
That is a thing, yes. He has to worry about also Skulking Geist removing his Hunter's Marks and is removing his Play Dead, so he can't have those big tempo swings earlier. Docpwn needs to find that Skulking Geist as soon as possible, because all those 1-mana cards from Hunter are some of the best cards in the deck. Tracking, Hunter's Mark, Play Dead are all essential cards in this matchup.
And you touched on it very briefly there. This is a big pickup for Amnesiac for those Giants. No hero power, showing what Amnesiac thinks of the matchup. It's not just that, oh, he can't play Hook Reaver. We know that, but that's a decision he's made, that he is the defender. Take the game as long as you can, and you grind them down if you can deal with those early 3 or 4 terrifying minions. And he can. The spider bomb's a very good start on that.
Wow, it's a start. He's going to need a little bit more than just a spider bomb. He has no activators for it yet. He's going
to set it up because this allows him to run the spider bomb in next turn.
So he gets to bump the Shaw in and then run the spider bomb in, killing the minion, forcing the Battlecry to go in on either the Giant or the Drake. Very good setup to be able to deal with that Giant.
And in the meantime, if that doesn't happen and no big card is played, you get to mess around with your eggs and your cubes and to your heart's content, have a bit of fun. Start seeing a 5/5 army.
Yeah, cubing an egg is really strong in this matchup because it can make it so your opponent's AoEs are really awkward, especially with a Mossy Horror in your hand. You can then, activate the eggs that you cube later on in the game.
And this hand looks set to do the thing he wants to do. It looks set it can go pretty deep, pretty long. Get yourself to that Rexxar, start generating cheating devices, and off you go.
Cubes are very powerful. And we're going to see Docpwn respect the Spider Bomb rushing in, opting just to clear off the Shaw.
I think this is where Docpwn doesn't get enough respect. Like, he's regarded not as strong as he is because of the way he qualified, not the way he played at Worlds. He was he turned up, had a bit of fun, did really well.
He played really well at Worlds.
But at Worlds, then he did it the other way. He just put a load of time in with a lot of his Canadian colleagues in particular and played incredibly well. Surprised a lot of people, I think. But in the qualifiers themselves, I don't think he necessarily played that great. Showed how good he is, and then he takes some time off, but he comes back and he's capable of respecting this sort of play.
Right, he's making
rather than just playing the obvious curve play. Hey, you turn up, you haven't played Hearthstone for a year, you play a Mountain Giant on 4, this looks like fun.
He's interacting with his opponent. He's not just playing, oh, these are the HS replay data, mulligan for these cards, play these cards on curve. No, he's saying, what are you trying to do, and how do I stop that? And, it's working quite well for him right now.
I never thought years ago I'd be talking to Firebat on stream about how statistics are overused.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like the most unlikely scenario I could ever think of.
They've really blown up now, and that's all people do. They cookie cutter way too much in Hearthstone, I'd say, right now. And, a lot of players have been capitalizing on it, and 2 of them are right here on stream.
Yeah, I think F2K and Tempo Storm are the best. The top 2 teams, oddly enough, in terms of the standings, are the 2 best teams at going, okay, going to look at the replay stats, take from it what suits me, have a look at what it means in reality, check which decks are actually correctly labeled and all that stuff, take the stats I need, and then ignore them all apart from that and add up my own special source, my own skill level, and use them as a crutch, as a guide.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's not as black and white as the numbers tend to put it. There's definitely a lot of wiggle room and a lot of variance and a lot of opportunity to do things that make the numbers different. Has the Spider Bomb 50-50 flip if he wants it. I imagine we're just going to see the cube come out here.
Yeah, one of the big deals about having Rexxar means that he can afford to take 1 crunch from a Mountain Giant. Should be able to get some lifesteal when you've dealt with the problem.
I mean, there's not burst in the even Warlock deck, so you can take a beating. You can stabilize at like 9 or 10 and be fine. So you just really just focus on trying to build the strongest board possible.
And he's getting into that spot. Docpwn's going to be in trouble in a moment. Currently not, of course. His hand's very powerful.
No Spellbreakers yet for Docpwn.
Yeah.
The key card that he's missing. No Skulking Geist to come down to shut down these trackings and play deads and Hunter's Marks that are going to be just a pain in his side as the game continues. So he's missing on all 3 of the key tech cards for the matchup at the moment.
With that in mind, is there a chance this Mountain Giant just connects to the face and says, okay, I think you got me, but deal with it?
Mountain Giant might have to try and deal with the cube so the play deads don't happen. It's a bold call. Right now it looks like he's just developing minions and chucking everything to the face, not even respecting the MC tech. There's a 1 of MC tech in the Hunter list for Amnesiac. The Giant held back here. He's debating whether or not he wants to clear something.
It's a really tough call. 8 is a lot of damage, but leaving up this board is also terrifying, so...
Right.
I feel that was a really close one. I actually quite like the faceplay personally here, just because I think he's in a very tough spot, so take a chance is always good.
He has a lot of damage on board. He's representing, 16.
I think it was a consistent play with the rest of his turn, which is, okay, just hope I have it.
Amnesiac wants to try and set up a really, really wide board. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Playdead come out here just on the cube to make additional eggs and then cube another egg and just have the giant, endless death rattle army of 5/5s and cubes that make more eggs, which make more 5/5s.
Sounds good. But he has got...
He could cube the cube and then Playdead the cube, which would be more immediate pressure. He could cube the 5/3 and then Playdead that. Cubes and 5/5s in him are not too bad.
Not enough mana to be dead to double Hellfire, that's fun. Give you an extra turn.
He's definitely got the freedom to kind of do whatever he wants development-wise on this board. But I want to see some combination of cube and Playdead use this turn. You need the stats in play. You need to be threatening the counter-lethal, forcing your opponent to trade.
Here it all is.
Yeah, he's going with the most aggressive route that he could possibly do, not going for the eggs. The eggs can be pretty beneficial because, make you less vulnerable to AoE, but he feels like he needs the pressure on the board now to be able to deal with the Giant and the Drake. So it's showing that he's not super confident in his ability to tracking into Hunter's Mark.
The Spider Bomb just not... He would not want that 50-50, fancying that he's in front, so why would you?
Well, it's just, you can't use a Play Dead on a Spider Bomb. It's too low impact.
Yeah,
You'll run out of steam and die.
Game.
Yeah, exactly. Against aggro, sometimes you get away with a Play Dead on a Spider Bomb, but against even Warlock has so many threats and so much pressure that if you start Play Deading Spider Bombs, you're not actually establishing your own board. You're not establishing your own threat. They're going to have time to make it to Gul'dan. Rexxar versus Gul'dan. Gul'dan usually wins.
Yeah, surprisingly, but it's true.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Gul'dan versus anybody, Gul'dan usually wins.
Right, it's
just such a good hero. Just 6 units of stuff.
Yeah, it's
for 2 mana.
Sometimes it loses to Jaina, but yeah, pretty much the best Death Knight as far as control terms are.
Shield up.
And he is just saying, okay, deal with it.
Yeah.
I've set out my stall as well.
So much damage coming in.
Using Taunt to really good effect there. Without this chain gang, it might have been awkward. But it's going to be awkward because you're on 6 health for a long time until you can get your Rexxar down as well. So can't slip up and you're dead to double Hellfire.
Yeah, you have to accept that.
Yeah, exactly.
If it happens, it happens.
For now, yes, but if it goes on for 3 or 4 more turns, you have to start anticipating it might turn up.
He's got to find a Hunter's Mark. If he finds a Hunter's Mark, suddenly this whole board opens up a lot more. He's thinking about the Rexxar and how that enables his trades right now. I don't think it's good enough.
And the other thing, the way that this has been played, you can expect Docpwn to have at least 1 Hellfire in his hand, just because he's gone for this aggressive line.
Oh. He can activate the Spider Bomb. Choosing to trade this first. Activate the Spider Bomb, sure. Works out fine. He gets to guarantee the Spider Bomb on the Giant, and he's alive just fine.
Yep.
Stabilizing just barely. 6 life.
And representing a very quick lethal himself, which he will feel he needs. Again, there's that little bit of burst available for some hands the Warlock might have.
So what happens with this Defile? You can go Defile for the 1, 2, 3, 4 damage dealt, leaving behind... One cube has 0-3 eggs in it, the other cube has 5/5s in it, so it would leave behind some O2 eggs and some 5/4s.
So many possibilities.
And then he could maybe use the Spellbreaker, or no, he could use the Spellstone and then a second Defile to maybe make something happen. The Spellstone's for 3 on one of the 5/4s down to a 5/1. So then he would have 1, 2. He's missing a 3.
Even with his own Spellbreaker?
He can't get his own spell. He doesn't have the mana.
Not enough mana. Okay.
Yeah, if he could get his own Spellbreaker in there, he could get a full clear here. But there's no full clear with the Defiles. Unless maybe you play, like, is there something weird where you like play a Doomsayer first and then Defile, and how the health totals work out with that? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing any sort of Defile clear.
Nor is he. And sometimes I've seen players in this position go, maybe it's there, and just throw the first one out and try and work it out as they go and hope it's there.
Yeah, just see if the second board happens. He's silencing the cube with the 5/5s in it, it looks like. Just going to leave Amnesiac here with eggs.
Okay. So buying himself some more time to pick up direct damage, but now the game starts to turn on its head, because either this turn or next turn, Rexxar is going to start doing its thing. You've got a useless hero power for now anyway. You don't want to use it.
It's looking like it's still Docpwn heavily favored. Even if Rexxar comes out and starts building beasts, you know, Amnesiac's at 11 and Docpwn is not out of gas.
But those beasts can change it around quick. And yeah, he's going to go for the...
Yeah,
this will slow you down.
You have to keep up the pressure. You have to just keep going. You're not going to win with Rexxar against a hand this size from the Warlock. You have to expect either another Giant, Drake, Lich King, something's coming out that's going to be a bummer to deal with if you're not putting anything on the board.
And this is what we were talking about earlier with plan A's and plan B's and the top players. So he didn't hero power on 2.
Now he's hero power.
Now he's hero powering on 8 because the game has changed. Something different needs to be done. Don't care about your 7/7s. I'm just going to hit you as hard as I can before I'm dead.
Yeah. He's got 14 set up on the board. There's no King Crush left for Amnesiac. He trackinged over that, so he's not going to have a lot of burst going forward to try and close the game out. Looking like maybe Docpwn's right when disrespecting the Hunter.
Good point. Well made, and yeah. Back it up. Nothing wrong with that. There's the first Hellfire as well now.
Not too clean of any sort of clear here. Probably just going to end up developing into this board.
How many cards are left in his deck? Because tapping into second Hellfire and just ending the game is going to be something he has to at least pay some attention to, because it's like a 10% chance of winning on the spot.
I think the percent chance of winning on the spot's higher with Lich King. If he plays Lich King,
yep,
there's a lot of cards he could get that deal damage. You know, Death Coil, Death and Decay. He could get to the weapon, so there's 3 cards right there that would just all in combination with Hellfire end this game immediately.
So is there a downside to tapping though? I don't think there is. You're on turn 9, it's a bad number for an even deck. And now we go back to normal Hearthstone.
The Geist is something you do want to play at some point, but I think that phase of the game is kind of past it.
Yeah, you've seen one play dead already. Yeah. Obviously the Hunter's Marks. Yeah.
Going up to 10 cards, so that is a downside to this play, right? He's going to mill the top deck of his, the top card of his deck.
Army of the Dead is a very powerful card in even lock. You've got a
Yeah.
lot of minions in that deck.
That is true. And seeing the Lich King come out, Amnesiac knows that there's a pretty large percent chance that, you know, Hellfire plus X Lich King card's going to kill him, so he wants the 5 life. He kind of has to be playing the Rexxar this turn.
And start immediately hunting for something, a good lifesteal minion.
Plated Beetle gives him some armor.
And it's the cheapest one there, so his second card can build on it better.
Yeah, it depends what kind of mana total he's looking for out of the minions. Oh my.
There we go, that's what we're looking for.
That's a pretty good option there. You got about like 50% chance to get a lifelink, so it's fairly common that you're going to be getting some sort of heal beast from the Rexxar.
Heal, armor, suicide, beetle beast.
Right, and now Amnesiac not going face for 5, transitioning back into kind of defensively saying, you know what, now I got to outvalue you with Rexxar, so this is the new game plan. It seems a little wishy-washy to me, but
the game has been kind of a weird one.
It's been a weird one.
Like Docpwn got all that early pressure, Amnesiac's fended it off by counter-striking, and then Docpwn seems to have run out of gas on the last turn to some extent, as much as a 10-card hand can.
Wow, it's a Lich King. I don't know how to call Lich King out of gas. That seems like just complete gas to me.
All right.
Yeah. 9 mana, you played a Lich King. You know, sure, maybe there's more powerful things you can do on 9 mana, but not much.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I just retract my statement at this point. You win this one, Firebat.
But now he's probably out of gas.
Hunter's Mark's nice. Sticking this beetle into the 6/6 and killing it.
Can't really beat that. Not too much better for sure. Now the option is either play the Grizzly, play the Chain Gang, play the Keleseth, or Hero Power, and I think you Hero Power every time.
I think you want to be hero powering because you're going to whiff on some of them.
Right.
So you want to make sure you get as many chances to get good ones as possible.
Cave Hydra, snap picked there. Cave Hydra in combination with Rush, in combination with Rush Poisonous.
Stealth Poisonous is almost, not quite, so it's nowhere near as good, but it's
really
hang
good.
Around,
yeah.
It's good enough.
It's the pick for sure. I don't think you really want to go with the Stranglethorn Tiger. I think the Poison is a little bit better than the straight offensive power of the Tiger. He's already shown he wants to play the board control game. He didn't swing face for 5, so Giant Wasp is more consistent with that game plan. But the Stranglethorn Tiger is not horrible. And he's torn. Why do you think he's considering the Tiger?
Maybe he's going to just spend all of his mana next turn and have the biggest available thing.
Sure.
But if you're not going to use your hero power, you can do what you like.
Hunter's marking this turn. The downside to Hunter's marking this turn is it does give Docpwn a really good Gul'dan, but
I guess now you've got the Hydra as well, then you don't need to wipe the minions off the board because you're going to kill them all in one go.
Right. The Dread
a little bit terrifying though with this Hellfire. I guess it's not because it's 6/3. But
right, yeah. You set up so that the Hellfire doesn't really work. Yeah, it seems pretty solid. Reduces the power level of Docpwn's Gul'dan by a lot. In my mind, from Amnesiac's position, I was thinking we're not beating Gul'dan anyway.
Look at how deep in thought Amnesiac is on this turn, because you were saying about the wishy-washy game plan, and I think he'll be aware that, hang on, I've changed course 3 times.
Yeah.
Let's work out what am I doing. Not because I think he's doing it wrong either, it's just how the game has gone, but sometimes you can sort of get this feeling of being slightly helpless when the game just keeps changing direction like that. You think, okay, what do I need to nail my colours to one of these choices and go for it.
Another Cave Hydra, not a bad pick. The other ones are just pretty awful. You generally want to take Poisonous with the Cave Hydra to make it a must-remove minion. Taunt, also not a horrible option. His life total is pretty low. He's facing down 14 pressure on the board.
Divine Shield means it will survive, but it's not a minion for this turn, whatever he picks.
Right. It seems like he's gonna, well, it might be. He has to kind of taunt, right? He's at 16 life, facing down 14. He assumes
the other one's got Rush, I think. The other Cave Hydra?
No, it's Stealth Poison.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So he needs to kind of take Taunt and play it to not die.
Yeah, that changes things significantly.
Or he needs to play the Witchwood Grizzly. So yeah, he's not having time to play the Stealth Poison Hydra. Because he opted to not go with the Hunter's Mark, thinking he could maybe reduce the power of Docpwn's Gul'dan, getting really punished by the Black Knight here. Now if that Gul'dan comes out, then
that's it, right?
The Hunter Mark. Yeah, he's dead to Gul'dan for sure here.
Well, it's Black Knight hit you for 14 and Hellfire.
Oh, the Black Knight's in play.
Holy. I've just gone blind. I've actually got my glasses on, everybody, as well, so I don't know what today's excuse is going to be.
No, the Black Knight caught Amnesiac off guard last turn, giving him the ability to load so much power in play.
Back to reality.
But I think Amnesiac made a little bit of a misstep there, trying to play around Gul'dan in a position where if Gul'dan comes out, you've lost anyway.
Then you've lost anyway.
Right. I think he should have used the Hunter's Mark with the Beetle, cleared up the 6/6, and
yeah, you don't want to die with this Beetle in hand and maybe thinking he could get this Cave Hydra down more easily than he could.
I think that should have been the game plan. It should have been clear the board, pave way for the Cave Hydra. If Gul'dan happens, we lose, and that's fine. I think he's in a bad spot and he can't beat everything, but trying to respect this Gul'dan, trying to set himself up in a position where he beats the Gul'dan, making himself in a bad position against other things like the Black Knight that came out here now.
I always make the point that the best players look after their resources, but this is a danger when you try too hard to be too greedy with resources. Sometimes this happens.
Right, and this is going to be it. Maybe the Witchwood Grizzlies bail him out. He does have the ability to play the Chain Gang. He's looking for maybe the Bloat Bat or something here. The Beetle going to be the choice, but there's not a lot of things you can combo with that are going to be very good. He could hit maybe the Rush Lifesteal to stabilize.
Yeah, you're facing a lot of damage.
He would be able to Lifesteal up to 8, and then the Death Rattle gets him up to 11, and he's dead to the second Hellfire. Yeah. He gets Rush Lifesteal with the Beetle, but I mean, the other minions just aren't doing him any favors.
That's how good Rexar is, though. He's been dead for the longest time at a casual glance.
It looked like he took the Timberwolf there. I wonder what he's searching for off the Timberwolf.
It's just cheaper.
It's cheaper, so he can maybe... Yeah, he's looking to try and... I think what he was trying to get there was he's trying to get the lifesteal rush with the Timberwolf. So if he's able to get Vicious Scalehide Timberwolf, then he could play it and, you know, get a Witchwood Grizzly down with it. Or Chain Gang. Sorry. 2 taunts or 1 taunt. Witchwood Grizzly's health total.
You're dead to Hellfire if you play the 2 taunts. You're dead to the fact your Witchwood Grizzly is just a bad card with 1 taunt.
Yeah, he's dead to Hellfire no matter which play he makes.
With that in mind, he made this one.
Yeah, this one beats a Spellbreaker.
And this time, I can do the math.
And Docpwn is going to even the score 2-2. He said going into it, I think that the quote-unquote perfect lineup is not going to be playing Death Rattle Hunter. He thinks that deck is weak, and, you know, proving it here. Stats say Death Rattle Hunter's favored against Even Warlock.
Who knows stats, huh?
Yeah, who knows? Apparently he says that Death Rattle Hunter deck is overhyped, and he's kind of proven it.
I do feel like Death Rattle Hunter's got stagnated. A lot of the other decks are still developing and turning into newer, more exciting, more coherent units. And we haven't seen Death Rattle Hunter really change for the longest time.
Have you met the card Missile Launcher before?
Seen it a couple of times, not deliberately put in decks, but just appearing.
I put it in my Hunter deck, dude.
Did you?
That card is sweet. You gotta get the Missile Launcher, the Venomizer. That deck's awesome.
How are you doing with it?
Let's not talk about results. It's about experimenting
it's all about how
and building.
It feels.
Yeah, it's about it's kind of an emotional connection deck.
So when I was saying it's gonna the deck hasn't evolved, I meant like forwards.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right.
It's like it just seems to have stuck at this Katharina King Crush few beasts build.
It's an interesting deck. The Katharina causes a lot of inconsistencies in the deck, especially when people are really finagling with it a lot. A lot of the more popular builds are running, you know, 4-3 beasts, something like that. 4 or 3 beasts. The original Katharina builds had 5 beasts, and that was like, they were like, mathematically, consistency-wise, you want 5 beasts, and then people are like...
And then you turn out, I don't want consistency, I want to kill them with King Crush.
They're like, we don't care about consistency, we want actually just 3 beasts that are really, really good, and screw the other beasts.
Yeah, if Katharina's bad, I've already won.
Yeah.
Is the philosophy. But it just feels that it hasn't evolved much in the last 3 or 4 weeks. There's new Hunter decks coming up that are nothing to do with this, and maybe that's the way forward. When a deck reaches its best build you can make, just start again.
That's what a lot of players are saying, is that the new variations of Hunter are so much better. You look at the Subject 9 Hunter, which was brought, I think it was the primary Hunter deck brought in APAC, which is happening, you know, now, as well as alongside this tournament. And this tournament, many players have moved away from Death Rattle Hunter and moved towards that Subject 9 Hunter. So it's a pretty popular trend to move away from it.
Ball Control, the person who's publicized or popularized that deck, is here doing well with that deck. I think he's 3-1. I think Fino's 4-0. So
yeah, lots of players.
Guys going well.
Really enjoying that.
That APAC tournament is really stacked, by the way.
Yeah.
It was on here last night. We're on here again tonight. Absolutely ridiculous.
And all of the big names that you kind of expected would do well are doing well in that tournament, from what I've heard.
We're just hearing actually Fino's gone to 5-0 now. He's already got the most wins out of anyone in DreamHacks in 2018. You can't catch him if he doesn't lose.
That's going to make it more difficult, yeah.
Amnesiac definitely one of those chasing him down, obviously winning at Austin, but he's got it to do here. 2-all against Docpwn. Looked like he was just plain sailing with the Rogue, just doing his thing.
Right, and now it's going to be pretty difficult. It's going to be the Even Warlock Mirror. And talking about tech choices in the Even Warlock Mirror, Amnesiac does have some things that maybe give him a slight edge. He has a Sacrificial Pact.
Okay, that works.
Which, you know, kill any demon, you know, kill a 6/6 or what have you, a 7/7, you know, in the form of the Hooked Reaver. So he's got that tech choice going for him. He is running no Doomsayers, which I would say gives him a slight disadvantage. Docpwn is doing the half Doomsayer, half Plated Beetle split. He's got 1 Doomsayer, 1 Plated Beetle. The Doomsayer is pretty key because it allows you to, whether you're going first or second, play the Doomsayer to get the initiative to be able to get the first giant down. Which
and we see how massive that is.
It's super
second
important.
person just loses 8 health before they can trade.
Exactly.
Did they both bring Black Knight?
They both have Black Knight in their decks, so that kind of evens things out. That's one of the huge tech cards in the matchup for sure, able to just remove anything that gets taunted up or the Hooked Reaver.
So what we will see quite possibly, especially from Docpwn with that Sack Pact and the Knight, then he might not be able to play his Reavers easily.
Oh yeah, it's going to be
do this
really
horrible
tough.
little dance of like, do I bother? Do I not? Do I think he's got it? Do I think he hasn't?
If he has no other play, those guys are coming out as 4/4s. He's not valuing the Hooked Reaver's defensive utility highly at all, that's for sure. Because 0 mana kill your Hooked Reaver or Dread Infernal is huge for Amnesiac. That gives him a very large edge in the matchup, I'd say.
And he has to consider himself. I mean, if you play Hooked Reaver and gets Black Knighted, that's a massive stat swing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but not quite as bad when it's only the one card in your deck that you can only play once, apparently, as you taught me last game.
Yeah. So, yeah, by the time Hooked Reaver comes out, Amnesiac with either the Sack Pact or the Black Knight available in his deck is very, very, very likely to have an answer to the Hooked Reaver and be able to continue swinging tempo in his favor. One other thing about the matchup is Docpwn has double Spellbreaker. Amnesiac only has 1 Spellbreaker. So I'd tend to say double Spellbreaker is better than 1 Spellbreaker. 1 Spellbreaker plus Mossy Horror is Amnesiac's kind of check inclusion instead of the 2nd Spellbreaker. And Mossy's okay, doesn't really do too much in the matchup, whereas Spellbreaker is one of those ways that allows you to push through early game advantage to lethals. So Docpwn's going to have a lot easier time, I'd say, of capitalizing on early tempo and getting lethal out of it, and then Amnesiac's going to have a lot easier time in the slower games with Sack Pact being able to do so much work if the game's going kind of long.
And overall, I think you find this tends to go long because with so many cards being drawn, the player who's behind, unless, apart from those double giant starts, the player who's behind tends to be able to find a way to hang in there. I know a couple of DreamHacks ago, we saw Sifka keeping Gul'dan in his opening hand, working on that assumption that, I'm just going to be able to stabilize well enough, even though I'm a card down, because we've both got 9 cards.
And then try and fatigue you by having the Death Knight.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong, by the way. You look at the numbers and it's kind of probably wrong, but I'm not going to argue with Sifka when he makes a decision like that.
Yeah. Sifka's very good at Warlock Mirrors and that sort of
he's played that a long
stuff.
time.
Yeah. He's a guy that is terrifying to play against in one of these kind of matchups.
And when your hero power costs 1, you've got every right to believe you've got all the answers for 9 turns. So it's not the same thing as keeping it in a normal hero power mirror.
Yeah. Docpwn with the coin, so if he is able to find the giant, he will have the first giant. Going second is better than going first in this mirror match, which is not usual. Most of the time, you'd rather be going first in Hearthstone, but in this particular mirror match, you can get the giant down slightly faster with the coin in your hand.
But 1 giant, no Doomsayers so far revealing themselves. We saw a crazy game yesterday where Orange was facing down 2 mountain giants and managed to fend them off and turn it around slowly but surely.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. Just taunting things up to just live by any means necessary, traded it all off.
If Orange didn't have both giants
he had
himself
both his
that
own,
game,
but he still had to...
He had to have exactly Giant Sun Fury to not die on turn 6. That was a pretty remarkable game for sure. If anybody missed that one, worth checking out that series.
But Docpwn hasn't got the flying start he
needs a giant.
Needs.
Is it the giant? There's the giant. That's huge.
It's 8/8. It's pretty big.
Yeah, without having the giant there, it was looking like Amnesiac might kind of steamroll him.
I like this from Docpwn where I think a lot of people get the card they need off the top of the deck and insta-play it.
Right.
Because you forget the rest of your hand exists for like 1 second.
Yeah. He takes it.
Just taking that second, look through your cards again, make sure there wasn't a better plan, and then just slam it on the board after that. Just that very quick pause.
Try and plan for future turns or something.
Geist is not a good card against even decks, I hear.
No, not particularly great.
Job's done.
Amnesiac got any way of protecting his giant for further turns? Doesn't look like it, so we'll be forced into making that trade most likely. But Docpwn can play his own Homunculus and start to defend his giant. He also has Coin, Twilight Drake, Sun Fury coming up. If he wants to try and protect this giant all the way, it's an option he has available to him.
Yeah, and just try and push with it. He doesn't have the Black Knight, but he does have Spellbreakers that can push through Hooked Reavers. So with double Spellbreaker in his hand, the aggressive route is an option for him.
He's also got the healing, so if the giant takes some damage, he can make it back to 8/8. Going for more traditional methods of just developing your good cards and grinding your opponent down that way by having better cards than they have. That seems legit as well. Gul'dan's a big deal in this matchup. I think people still underestimate the power of just playing Gul'dan. They think, oh, how many demons are you getting back? I don't care. I'm getting the best hero power in the game.
Right. Oftentimes that's enough. 6 swing worth of hero power action is pretty good, especially when you can just do it every single turn of the game.
Yeah, for a deck that might not die, for even this deck can still hold on forever.
Yeah.
Do it for 10 turns, that's a 60 health swing.
A lot of times even Warlock can even beat Odd Warrior because your hero power is just better than them in the later
Finish the game with that to find out?
Yeah.
It's like, get halfway through, I don't want to watch this anymore. I'll go back to my Hot Rogue mirrors. So what's interesting for me in this game is the next 3 or 4 turns are incredibly intricate.
He's going face.
Yeah.
It's going to enable the Hooked Reavers. He doesn't have the Black Knight yet. He doesn't have the Sack Pact yet.
But does he trust Docpwn to be good enough not to play them?
Well, apparently. It's a bluff here, right? Amnesiac saying...
He's saying, I think you're good enough to know that you can't play your Hooked Reaver here.
Exactly. But he can. Amnesiac doesn't have the answer yet. So it's if Docpwn has the read here that maybe Amnesiac's bluffing, maybe Amnesiac... He did rope out that entire turn and then took a deep breath and, you know, moved forward a little bit.
It's a readable bluff.
It's
not easily readable, but it's there.
He's throwing tells. He's
but it's showing respect for your opponent. Like, if you did that on ladder, they just plop the Hooked Reaver down and you lose the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like...
So he's definitely showing Docpwn a lot of respect here, assuming that Docpwn's going to play around the threat of Black Knight and the threat of Sack Pact from the deck. And Docpwn's going to, you know, he's going to respect the ability of Amnesiac to remove a Hooked Reaver here. Not going for the life tap Hooked Reaver, it looks like, going instead for the Spellbreaker.
Resist the urge to breathe out really loudly. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But what did he gain from that play? I mean, he gained 8 damage.
8 damage is what he gained, yeah. And Docpwn now, he knows Docpwn's not going to play Hooked Reaver now, too. He knows either Docpwn A doesn't have Hooked Reaver, or B respects the fact that the Black Knight / Sack Pact could be there. But with this play of Docpwn taunting up the Drake and going face, he's showing that maybe a bait towards the Black Knight. He's saying, if you Black Knight me, it's fine. I can reload with Hooked Reaver afterwards. Or if you Black Knight me, maybe you're just going to die.
Defile Spellstone will clear the way if he wants to do that. Set up the 2 by putting the Mounted Giant into the Twilight Drake. Will kill his own Giant off in the process, but...
Yeah, it'll just reset the entire board, giving the initiative back to Docpwn, which isn't particularly great, but it might be the best he's got.
Yeah, with the bluff being semi-called, even though he didn't play the Hooked Reaver, Docpwn just found a great other play to keep the pressure coming.
Yeah.
You see the thought process there. It's like, this goes here, this is a 1, then he hovers over that for the 2, hovers over the 2 3s. It's like...
Yeah, and Amnesiac, even if he had a Hooked Reaver, can't really deploy it here. So Docpwn's fine going in, setting his life total low because...
Yeah,
what are you going to do? You're going to play a Hooked Reaver into a, you know, the 8
get Spellbreaker, good luck.
Yeah.
Oh, with the saving of the mana by not using the Spellstone allows him to get the tempo back with this play. It's nice.
Yeah, I like this a lot. This is way better than the Spellstone line.
Yes.
A little tricky.
And when do you need that second Defile in this match? Everything's 8/8.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't touch much.
Right. So you're using a pretty bad card to really great effect, squeezing out the mana to get the Doomsayer to try and siege the tempo back. Docpwn's going to want to hold on to that tempo, so I think he's going to go with the second Spellbreaker, maybe the Vulgar Homunculus this turn, just to make sure that he has stuff in play.
Look what other stuff, yeah.
But honestly, even with Amnesiac getting the tempo back, he can't really capitalize on it at the moment. He doesn't have any of the big threats in his hand. There's no...
He's just giving himself the chance to draw into one, I think.
He needs to draw into either Giant, Hooked Reaver, Drake, something. But if he's able to hit one of those, then he's got something going for him.
He did need that breathing room as well, because
8 health.
8 health and nothing going for you.
He's got 2 powered up, or he's got 2 Spellstones though, so he's gonna have some longevity.
I guess Geist functions like a bad Twilight Drake on the next turn if he has to.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but
it's kind of similar for now.
This is worst case for him. He's got really good odds to find something.
Yeah.
Who draws it?
But Docpwn is going to go with the repopulating play.
You kind of just have to.
But you're threatening lethal again as well for what it's worth. Also, if he does get in position where...
Ooh, the Sack Pact. That's a key card.
Where he can hold the board, he can just play the Hooked Reaver as a 7/7 and not be so scared. Yeah, 5 health, massive right now.
And you're going to kill like a 6/6 or a 7/7 later. It's absurd. 0 mana kill a 7/7 or a 6/6 is insane.
Oh, Black Knight as well.
That's one of the other key cards in the matchup. Oh my, yeah. All of the spicy draws for Amnesiac there. It was looking kind of grim for him, but those draws bail him out very well.
Needs to be sure to use this removal and his board very, very carefully, because he's still sort of teetering on the brink of just getting out-tempoed and outplayed, but it's getting there. Well, sorry, out-damaged, not outplayed.
Interesting Spellstone target choice. Takes off the 2 power. He's very comfortable playing with his life total. I think the Sack Pact pickup has something to do with it. He's pretty fine trying to set up a more reasonable trade on board, if that means taking a little bit of extra damage, because he does have the Sack Pact and the Spellstone to crutch on regaining his life total. Gul'dan allows Docpwn to maybe take this game slower.
It does now, but maybe when they face off against each other, obviously nothing happens. You just both have 8 mana for the rest of the game. Not quite that simple, but
I wonder.
Amnesiac's got plenty of healing available to him.
So the options are either, he's got to play one of the demons, right? I mean, he can play the Twilight Drake, I guess, to try and avoid the Sack Pact coming out to bite him. He wants to be a little extra cautious. He could think about playing a Doomsayer this turn. Amnesiac only runs 1 copy of Spellbreaker. The Spellstones, if were in his hand, would only be at 5 instead of 7. But he is going to go with the Demon.
Yep. Give yourself, obviously, the chance for that second board, especially when your opponent's so low. Just keep pressuring the health total. Make your Gul'dan just that little bit more punishing. Because the bringing the demons back thing isn't usually that good. But if your opponent's struggling for health and they've gone all in removing your early stuff, then yeah, suddenly getting about 3 or 4 minions of any size is just going to win you the game.
Yeah. This Sack Pact now is going to stabilize for Amnesiac, being able to take down the 6/6, fully clear the board, and then have 8 mana to develop anything he wants onto an empty board while stabilizing his life total. But I guess he's just playing again at the moment.
Play again.
Yeah. He could think about not using the Sack Pact and trying to save it because he doesn't have that great of a development turn, and then try and maybe wait to Sack Pact when he does have something like the Lich King that he can play alongside it, something that's actually a real threat.
Yeah, I mean, great players do save their health total and use it as low as possible, but this is already in extremely squeaky territory for me.
He might go Spellstone, Shroom Brewer. Oh my. Oh, he is still going with the Sack Pact.
And keeping himself in range of the magical 15 just in case.
And trying to get lethal on his opponent, the counter pressure.
Yeah.
So aggressive, both of these players in this matchup.
Yeah, right. They're like, I'll hit you with my Mountain Giant. Okay, I'll ignore that. I'll put down some taunts and hit you with my Mountain Giant.
It's a slugfest. Usually this matchup isn't this aggressive, but I love it. They are playing some interesting Hearthstone right now.
I remember that Docpwn's this low because Amnesiac got that cheeky 8 damage in at the start. That was looked like it might cost him the way the fight back came. But the bluff 8 damage.
Yeah.
Forced Docpwn, doesn't force him, but sort of got him to coerce him to go down this line.
So many possibilities.
And it looked like it coerced him down a winning line, to be honest, but he has hung in there. Sack Pact into Black Knight's really helped this particular.
Oh yeah, the Sack Pact and Black Knight needed to get picked up for Amnesiac for him to have a chance after how the opening went for him.
But you know that Docpwn thinks you've got a Black Knight.
Oh yeah.
So
he saw how late the Sack Pact came in the hand, and he remembers the bluff from earlier. So
yeah, so there's a just good chance, as long as that Hellfire was there at the time, which I must admit I can't remember, but I think the Gul'dan may have been as well.
So Twilight Drake Spellstone maybe coming out for him. Oh, he's going with the Hook Reaver. You can't Black Knight and Hellfire in the same turn, so he is not going to be dead. He's going to be at 1 life. Can he stabilize from 1 life? How does he come back from that position?
Got a Spellstone, but I don't think it's a very big one.
Yeah.
Oh, Amnesiac's just getting the stuff as well now. Even if this attack is thwarted, then maybe the next one gets through. But yeah, put him to 1.
Yeah, you definitely.
Well, you've got to check you're not dead on the way back, though.
There's only 4 power in play. You get 10 life to work with.
Yeah, seems good.
Yeah. I'm surprised that he went with the Hooked Reaver there.
I wonder.
I mean, his other plays were pretty bad, so maybe he's thinking just, well, if he has Black Knight, you know, we're done.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how, maybe my read is wrong.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can come back from in the sec bag. He doesn't seem too surprised, too phased by the Black Knight.
He seems more depressed than phased right now.
Yeah, he
Made
kind of knew it was
comeback.
He knew it was there, and like he knew that he couldn't really do anything about it.
Now it's just survival puzzle.
Survival.
Giving up always to win the game just to not die because you can't win it if you're dead. It's always the worst position to be in Hearthstone, though. Your comeback mechanisms will start looking a bit shaky.
He's not dead yet. The demon pool for Amnesiac is pretty shallow, whereas Docpwn's Gul'dan is going to be bringing back a lot of power. So he's alive after this. If Gul'dan comes back from Amnesiac, what comes out?
So can Amnesiac set up a board where Docpwn can't play his Gul'dan? Something he'll be looking at here.
Right, exactly. The Gul'dan from Docpwn brings back multiple 2/4s or only one 2/4 at this point?
Not sure if I'm honest, but if you trade
he had
here,
the one early on to protect the giant, and did he have one a little bit later, or was that the only?
I feel like it's the only, but
okay.
Yeah. But trade here, heal up your Black Knight, drop down a giant, not in that order, maybe. Just put a load of stuff on the board and say, okay, if I've just got Hellfire, kill you if you play Gul'dan.
Well, why does he have to trade?
Because he can, because he's going to play the Shroom Brewer anyway. But he doesn't have to, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have more chance of beating your opponent if they're on 4 than if they're on 8, I guess.
I love going face there. And so now Docpwn can potentially trade off the 8/8, play Gul'dan going up to 9, bringing back a 2/4.
It's just not enough.
Hey, it's enough. It's only taking 7. Because the 2/4 stops one of the attacks. As long as there's not Spellbreaker Hellfire, he's fine. And then you work your way back from there. Maybe you stabilize with the Gul'dan hero powers healing you up and things of that nature. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. And just one draw from Amnesiac could change things. You know, you see a double Hellfire, you see a Spellbreaker come out.
This could be a draw still as well. There's definitely a possibility. They're getting so close to killing each other. Someone might just go, Hellfire, Hellfire, finish it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's only the one Vulgar Homunculus, the Hooked Reaver, and Dread Infernal.
Amnesiac can, if he wants to, just get his Gul'dan down, but...
He's only bringing back like a Vulgar Homunculus,
yeah.
and that's it. There's no Dread Infernal, no Hooked Reaver, so a little less impactful for the board. And Amnesiac's used his powerful resources. The Black Knight Tempo Swing is gone for Amnesiac. The Sack Pack Tempo Swing is gone for Amnesiac. Docpwn still has the Black Knight, so he's in a good spot. As weird as that sounds,
yeah, because he's got his Black Knight.
He's got his Black Knight still. This is very winnable for Docpwn. Death Grip. Ooh, that could get another Lich King. He obviously wanted damage there. He's a little upset about getting Death Grip. You see him picking it up and throwing it around, a little emotional, but...
Picking up, throwing it out of the pram.
Yeah, he's just...
Oh, he's 18 now, we can't do.
He's very frustrated about that Death Grip. There are obviously better cards he could have got there. The weapon, you know.
What am I supposed to do with this? Stupid Lich King.
Death Coil to be able to get the 5 over the top, but it's not that bad of a Death Knight card.
After this Black Knight comes down, it just becomes a complete slugfest as well. They're out of stuff. You've got Gul'dans picking on each other.
He's trying to figure out if there's any way he can really live through a deal 5 damage Lich King card plus a Hellfire, and there's no way to do it. So I think you just go with the Black Knight and the hero power for this turn.
Worth remembering, he's always got 9 from hand at any point with a double Hellfire and the ping now, so Amnesiac's kind of on 5 in Docpwn's mind.
He's trying to see maybe he can ignore one of these minions, go face, but
yeah,
I think it's too disrespectful to push the 10 to the face. There's so many Lich King cards that are going to be, you know, killing you in combination with stuff at that point.
Every turn has been the player can almost kill you, but he's got to respect the fact they can die.
Yeah.
Right from turn 4.
Yeah, this has been a really, really well played game. And I think it's coming to a close now.
Do you?
Well, what has Amnesiac got? I mean, he does have the Hooked Reaver active now, so he can start stabilizing with that, maybe.
He's got Sun Fury, Doomsayer. The Doomsayer board is actually okay as a 0-6 taunt. Buys some time.
Sure.
Can he defend a minion at the same time, though? Otherwise, it's pointless, obviously, if he can't.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Or can he try and put a lethal behind?
It's going to be tough to get a lethal behind, and
yeah.
This is the last turn that maybe he can do it, right? Because Docpwn keeps healing every turn. So he's on 8 for now, and can he capitalize on that in any way?
Doesn't look like it.
He's got so many options, and they're all just really ugly.
So can he get the second Doomsayer hidden behind 2 minions so it blows up and he gets the tempo
Going
back?
to try and steal something impactful here.
Failed.
Doesn't like any of the options in his hand, and that was the desperation move. And nothing there, but he is going with your line
and he's
here.
defending the second Doomsayer, just trying to get through this way.
Just trying to siege tempo back that way, and then maybe beat him up with the minions remaining afterwards.
Or you get to play your Gul'dan onto an empty board if the plan works.
So this is going to be lethal. You trade in the 6-2, you Hellfire, you Hero Power the 0-6, and go face. 11 total points of damage for Docpwn. There was just no answer there at the end for Amnesiac. He went for the Lich King card to try and steal an answer, unable to find it, and Docpwn completes the reverse sweep.
We've seen a few of those this weekend already. That's the 4th one I've cast already.
Yeah, almost every round I think we've had a reverse sweep, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's crazy.
Crazy. Cora, reverse sweeps.
That was one hell of a comeback. I think Doc was sweating there a little bit after the first couple odd row games from Amnesiac. He was really, really behind. I know production was thinking that one was going to be a fast 3-0 for the Savage, but that's kind of Docpwn's thing. You know, he comes out every once in a while and just surprises you. You forget that he is a real significant threat and that he was a top 8 finisher at the World Championships last year. He's not somebody to sleep on.
Right.
Yeah, he showed 2 or 3 plays there where, you know, Amnesiac was actually respecting him so much he made that bluff play, for instance. He, you know, he's being respected. He's earning that respect. He's winning these games and he's playing around his opponent's threats. He's not just curving out like maybe you'd give him credit for if you didn't pay attention enough.
Yeah, both players constantly were adjusting game plans and adjusting plays based on what their opponents were doing. We saw multiple times players making hand reads and adjusting their lines based on what they thought their opponents had in their hand. It was a really, really well-played series from both sides, and especially that last game there was just basically a clinic on how to play Even Warlock.
Even Warlock's so hard to play.
It's
so easy to play a lot of games with it where you just sort of curve out and do your thing. Then you get this mirror, and if you make one mistake,
a lot of times with Even Warlock, if you make one mistake, you're just dead. If you overcommit just slightly, if you don't go face, you're not going to have enough damage, and you're going to get fatigued and run out of resources. And if you do go face every time, they're just going to kill you. So it was really beautiful how they were both alive at like 1 or 2 health for the entire duration of the game.
It's this really awesome dance. Like the first stage of the game is just Mountain Giants, a complete slugfest with your big stuff, and then it becomes incredibly intricate in the later stages of the game. And that, I think, was, you're absolutely correct, a beautiful instance of a very well played on both ends Even Warlock game, and the intricacies of that matchup were on full display. That is going to be it for our streamed matches for round number 5. We do still have a game happening off stream. Hunter Ace versus Orange are both undefeated, and I was getting a chance to watch just a little bit of what was happening. There was a odd control warrior that stole a 0-cost Azalina from a Togwaggle druid, and things got wacky, and it's taken a while, but we are going to be sure to update you on the results of that one, because the winner of that match will remain undefeated in match record for this tournament so far. But when we come back, round number 6 will be underway, so don't go anywhere. More of the DreamHack Montreal Grand Prix right after this.